Welcome to Role Play, and Mr. Jason Graham is joining us today. We're much excited, and we want to play Dark Age of Man. We're gonna. This is a test run, changing the system a little bit and see how it works out from D20 to D12 base. So essentially the same. It's just a little tighter on the inside and within the confines of D12. So Justin and Jorian joining us as well, and they've been briefed. If y'all can switch your names at some point to your character's name, so I won't be calling you by that.
Rename.
And I'll be switching mine to Certain Doom, I'm sure.
Rename.
Got a participants? Nope.
There we go.
Oh, rename. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Cool. Can you get yours, George? Just right click on the name itself.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I have to find my character sheet.
Okay.
Yep.
I love that. Just a point. I love that you guys give them names like Half Man and Moldolf. What is your Soft Blade?
Yeah, because he was really hesitant to go on a raid the previous year. He figured he could just do it just staying in the village and just fishing. He's like, I don't need to friggin' raid. You guys go ahead and do what you need to do. But then it turned out it was a bad winter and his family didn't pass through. So he thinks Odin is punishing him for that, so that he's got to prove that he's worthy of the village and show that, you know, maybe raiding is the way to go. So he picked up a new wife who's just as good at fighting as he is, maybe even more so. But and so he's just going to head down to get some gold from these Southerners that he hears not very well protected. It's very easy.
Well, sweet, nice character introduction, and we'll pick up on that and swing over to Mr. Karam Ripper Stilgerson.
Yeah, Karam is pretty much your run-of-the-mill soldier, kind of quiet, kind of gruff, kind of a little bit too into the murder part of of raiding, but then also gets kind of weirds everyone out a little bit after the fight's over by just how gentle and soft-spoken he is when he snaps out of that blood rage.
A little bit of berserker. Salivating.
Not much else is known about him. So.
Ragnvald Halfman
Bjornsson.
Okay. I almost
so Ragnvald is 16. It's time to go on his first Viking. His uncles and his father are renowned, and of course he's called Half Man, but he's not certain if it's because he's short or if it's because he has yet to earn the prestige of his uncles and his father. So he carries a bit of a chip on his shoulder, not knowing what Half Man means because he's short. And so he's intense, impatient, and eager to prove himself.
All right, sweet. All right, we got y'all, but you're not alone. All right, because your boat, your Viking longship, I should say, can carry around 50 people. Now, that's not to say that they're all Scandinavian in descent, because a lot of what you're doing and can possibly do is get slaves. You have to have someone to work your farms or you're off raiding, and a lot of times you'll do that. Or you're in the slave trade as well. So in general, after you plant your crops, you stay stone drunk in your houses during the winter, and then go off raiding to fill your coffers and to get more farm hands or trade on the slave trade. So but when you head out, you're heading out with a couple of renowned people among your village. We've got Tug of Blood Axe and Thorin Skull Splitter. They're the two most elder and dangerous of your crew. And a lot of them, especially soft blade, a lot of them are like you. They're mainly farmers. They're going off to. This is a side deal for them, right? They fill up their bodies. They fill up the thing. They know how to take care of themselves, obviously, and they want their glory too, or a portion of it. Probably not like you do at this time and juncture, since you've had that falling away from your old life. You're seeking about making a new one. But as y'all have been on the sea for several days now, and it seems that there's some argument between Blood Axe and Skull Splitter at this point about where exactly they've determined would be the most profitable venture. All right. So from you overhearing it sitting on the ship, Blood Axe wants to head down to the continent, and Skull Splitter thinks the island is best. Ungland, he says. Ungland is where we go. All right. So as you're sitting in the back, you see them come to there's a clearing almost. Well, not almost. It is right in the middle of the ship as they're glaring at each other and grimacing and obviously wanting the other one to back down. So, and it's all dead quiet as the oars stop and the stillness, the boat's kind of rocking. It is springtime and the water's fairly calm. It's still choppy, whatnot. You're on the ocean after all. But and off in the distance, you can see a little bit of what you recognize as Ungland, the shores. It's very off in the distance. But Blood Axe wants to go south even further. And he's speaking up that those areas are more profitable right now. So,
being my first raid, I'm just paying close attention to what they say, but I wouldn't venture my opinion, obviously.
Okay. That's what I'm wondering. Both of you keeping the similar mouths shut at this?
Yeah, like, is this kind of like is this like a new kind of a twist or a turn that's actually happened? Like, just being so far from England, and now Blood Axe wants to go, I guess, to the continent now.
Yeah,
It's what the plan was, right? Like, but are we a divided crew at this point, or is this like new and everyone's like, what?
It's new. It's just boiled over because everybody knew they were going to the island, and that's what Blood Axe is saying. He feels like that this area has been pilfered enough, and where y'all going, he wants to go and try some new areas. Is what he's saying. So, and they're both very well respected, but almost you don't know if this is in a way that he's just kind of, trying to secure dominance. Was pretty par for the course. Amongst the community or whatever like that. So as you can one of you, no, hold on.
Good boy.
Okay. Like I said, off in the distance, you see the shore, and you do notice, Moldolf, you do notice the cove and a little glint off in the distance inside the cove that they were approaching. So you do see something, whether it happens to be still or glass or whatnot, you don't know just yet. Okay.
Okay, and what particular direction is it?
It's at the island. It's Ungland, and you've
okay.
This is new to you. You haven't been here yet, as well as Ragnarval. This is your first. Now, Karam, have you been on an expedition before? You're somewhat seasoned, right?
Probably, yeah, a handful.
Yeah. So you yourself see it as well.
Okay. There, a reflection on the shore, and I'll go and I'll point to see where I see it.
Okay.
Trying to like outburst, like to make sure that everyone has my attention You're like, over there on the
Yeah,
shore.
because you could have heard a pin drop before, and then all you hear is the two up there. And when you say that, it does. Blood Axe head snaps around, and then a Skull Splitter takes a swing at him, and knocks him side the jaw. And this is a massive man. Tug a Blood Axe. He catches him on the jaw, and he half falls over the ship, and he catches his arm on the side, and he's dragging as the ship's piling along. And all the men burst out laughing. All right, and then Skull Splitter points the way. We go see what this reflection is. Still of our enemies, and he picks up his axe and starts pounding it on his shield, and trying to do a cadence as they all start rowing toward that area. All right, so it looks like that decision. Yeah. Now it takes a little bit for Blood Axe to crawl back into it and roll back into the ship, and he's wet, and it looks like he's not really cooled off from the situation though. All right. So it looks like, I mean, you know, especially Karam, it's going to take a lot. Well, all of you are used to some kind of, you know, you're people of the sea anyway. So it's going to take a little bit before it gets in there. It's a little bit choppy. The weather is picking up somewhat as you're going in, and it's a bit of a rocky cove more so than, but you're used to that in spades. So, and it's part of the reason that they go there. There's also an island in the middle of this cove, and that seems to be where they winter. And last time, it's unsure right now. It's last time they wintered there and stayed there to get a jump on the next spring's raiding before they left out. Some people were not taking too kindly to that. They wanted to get back to their wives and whatnot like that. But you know, and Skull Splitter's the one who came up with that. So they stay with one extra through the winter and spring before they headed back, and that was a couple of years ago. But now you're back. All right. So it might have been what was up Blood Axe's, you know, what was in his crawl.
Yeah.
But anyway, as you're heading back there, you see the island in the middle, and the little island in the middle as the cove comes around and it empties back. Now, Karam, you've been here before, and you've stayed that winter in there. You don't remember much. You were stone drunk in the little hall that was there, but it afforded you protection from any of the Englanders around that area. And the raiding there was a lot of small towns and villages and whatnot. You came back fairly wealthy, but you've gone through your resources since then. So you're looking to resupply. Right. All right. As the men trudge on back and forth with the oars, and you're part of that procession with the oars. Ragnaval, you notice there is your foot, even though it's wound up in hide and whatnot like that, has become wet as you've been rowing. And you look down and you notice probably 2 or 3 inches worth of water in the bottom of the longship. This is really unheard of. Things are made,
right?
You know what I mean. But you're seeing this right now, as you go forward, and it'll wash forward and then pull back, and nobody else has seemed to notice it just yet.
Okay. I make a note to our fearless leaders. We are taking on water.
He looks down.
And I'll splash and kick with my feet.
We'll be at the shore soon enough. Row, you dogs.
And I'll drive harder, faster.
Yeah.
Okay. Just then, a thunderbolt comes through the sky, and it seems like a spring storm is coming down. And there seems to be ravens that call and break out of the central area with the island where all the trees are, and they circle up and leave off from that island. Okay.
Odin is not happy with us. He is ill pleased.
He's ill pleased. He will be more pleased when he counts the bodies of his Unglin pigs.
Yes.
When we
Yes.
skewer them whole, take their women. All right, that was Skull Splitter, and he grimaces, and you see the black between his teeth and whatever, and his gnarly beard, and he's quite the impressive leader.
Really old, like 25.
Yeah, like 25, close. You
Like
wonder
28, really
how
old.
he made it that far.
Right.
Yeah, lives to the ripe old age of 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, as you're going around the side of the island, you hear a small thud into the side of the boat, Moldoff, that you're rowing on. And you look down, and there's a shaft of an arrow, and then another one flies over. I want you to roll your luck. And I'll tell you if you...
Okay, so I rolled a 5, and my luck is 0.
Your luck is 0. Okay, 5. Okay, the next arrow that comes in clambers off the oars. You pull it up and slides right by you and chips your chin and veers off into the boat and clatters around. So it just does a little nick on you. And the other man on the other side of the boat notices too, and what? And he stops, and then he gets wide eyes, and he's pointing as you're holding your chin off in the direction. And you see a line of men out there. It looks like some kind of peasantry, but they all got bows and arrows, and then these arrows are flying through the air toward your boat, right?
So I'll call out what shore they're from, probably the eastern shore, whenever they're going south.
Okay.
I'll be like, archers on the eastern shore, get your shields. I'll just go to the side of the boat, grab my poorly constructed one, so I imagine it's got like a big braid of metal or something, trying to keep it together.
Everybody's falling in step and grabbing their
Yeah.
shields off the sides of the boats and bringing them up and making a thing.
Yeah.
And it seems like that the other side, and you were fairly close to the island on that side, and it's coming from the opposite shore of the island. The island's on your left right now, as y'all have gone around the right side of the island.
Okay.
So the blood axe is walking along and grabbing the ones on the left side of the ship. Is steer us over there to the island, and he's getting them, and it's kind of the longship is caterwauling that direction. And there seems to be a little bit of rowing on the right side of the boat too.
So what I'll do, just while we're all like holding our shields, kind of protecting ourselves from the arrows, I want to just take a quick look over at Dragonball. Be like, Odin didn't want to make it too easy for us.
No, that's why we're here. They draw our attention. They will get it. Odin gets what he wants.
Okay, this time the boat hits the shore and rocks a little bit, and that water underneath you sloshes a little bit, and you see when it goes down, Ragnarok, there is a hole in, or at least like a rotted piece of the ship that's broken free, and a hole seeping through that. It's not too big or whatever like that, but you can tell that there's been some damage in the ship that way.
Quickly, if I have to, I'll down and stick fingers in it and feel if it feels sabotage or natural, like damage or rotten wood.
From this side, you can't really say. It does feel a little bit rotted, but it does feel chipped away with bits out of it. You know what I mean, like from a knife,
Okay.
or some kind of a weapon. All right, so that's what you're feeling that way. But with the water going over it and everything, that's all you can get. Now the boat sloshes that way, and then everybody's getting up and getting out with the shores. Now, y'all are a little bit out of the distance of the arrows right now as far as being really effective. And there's a shield wall up, and the boat is being taken out and drug up onto the shore of the island. And Blood Axe and Skull Splitter, they're taunting the other side. In fact, they've taken down their drawers and they're giving them the moon. And laughing and jovial about and everything like that. So that's what's going on right there. And the other men kind of follow suit. There's one or two.
Is the water shallow enough to jump ship now? Like, kind of jump on the shore? Or...
Yeah, the boat's being pulled up on the shore right now. You know what I mean? And
okay.
So you got some people blocking, and then other people's just dropping their shield and you know.
I'm looking up and down the beach and inland to see if we're alone on this little island.
It's a small little island. It looks right now, with all the men screaming, you can't really discern if there's animal activity. The only thing you saw earlier was the crows flying up from the center of it and then heading off.
No evidence of a camp or unglerers that have taken.
No, you wouldn't know.
Okay.
Now, Kareem had been there last year, and y'all haven't spoke to him. So, but he knows that y'all did build a hall there before, and y'all had wintered there the season before. So, you probably have some inclination of what Skull Splitter had up his sleeve, and what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
So you wanted to get there. But that's exactly what happens. To answer your question, Ragnval, he get this damn boat in, and they're dragging it up, and there's probably a contingency of about 32 men with you.
Okay,
including y'all, so about 29 others, including So you got that, and they're pulling the ship up onto land. It's close to the tree line. There seems to be an opening, a rocking opening that they set the ship on.
Okay.
And everybody gets and Skull Splitters. Now this way, the damn pigs can't swim, and their arrows are too weak to reach us. So he heads off in the direction of Ripper. You know where he's going, to the hall, as you surmise. The rest of Soft Blade and Half Man, y'all just following in step. Okay?
Yeah.
According to what he does, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
All right. In a little bit, it doesn't take that long. When you walk around the corner, you see this it's almost like a facsimile of the Great Hall back in your country. The smaller, there is a chimney there, thatch roof. It's made from a lot of what you pulled the ship onto. The stone is broken away, and some of it is into the wall of that. From the island, making it into the wall of the hall, and a lot of it's timber and lumber that's been cut up. But it was very thickly wooded on that island, except for the area where you pulled up and around that. You see where there's stumps or where trees had been fallen. And Ripper, this is true. When you had a hand in building that. All right.
Yeah.
So when you walk in there is an opening right in the center, and
fairly well hidden.
Yeah. It's a ring of trees around it and fairly well hidden. And then over there, and Skull Splitter kicks open the great door, and then pushes. Him and Blood Axe push it and swing it open, and then there's inside, and then they raise their arms and give thanks to Odin for the safe journey. And they walk over there looking for something that would be, you discern as a keg in the corner, right? Mm-hmm. And he kicks off the bunghole.
I whisper to Moldoff, "This is not how I anticipated our first landfall. I thought much death at the end of my axe."
Well, I haven't been on very many of these trips. Maybe we're just looking to save our strength after such a long trip.
So this is what these my uncle and my father boast about. This is feeble. I expected to have killed 5 people by now.
You'll have your time, Half Man. Don't you worry.
What did I tell you, Fishmonger? Don't call me Half Man.
All right. He kicks off that bunghole, as you Canadians say, and it's dry, so a little bit comes out and of the keg, and he kicks it over.
Wait a second, I missed. Did you say Canadians drink out of a bunghole?
Yeah. Well, they informed me.
Cow.
No, we had to give the anatomy of a keg had to be explained to Dell. Apparently, Kevin was all on top of it, and told him that it's actually called a bunghole. It's what it's actually called.
Oh my God!
So I was like, all right, I know nothing of it, but all right. So
take your word for that one.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's what he does. He sees the keg is empty. He gets rowdy. He said, "We need more ale in here." And he walks across and someone bring flint, tinder, light these torches. You see torches and sconces on the walls around the hall, and whatnot, and start this fire. You, and he points to Ragnvald and Softblade. You know, Softblade and Halfman. You, Halfman, bring lumber. There's plenty around the area.
Yeah, I start looking around and head outside looking for lumber, thinking to myself, I was doing this at home. I did not come all this way to collect lumber. So I'm saying it out loud, but not loud enough.
Yeah, just under your breath.
You may want to whine a little quieter.
Right.
Yeah,
This is your first raid, by the way.
Yes.
He's laughing. He's joking.
Here I
He's
am
in
collecting wood
He's in
like a charcoal baby.
All right. Softblade, go get us some fish. He's gonna see you have to do it.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. I'll just conjure them from the shore. Do we have a
Now
net?
you
have
say
supplies, right?
Yeah, you got a
yeah.
little supplies, but he's gone through them. He's been drunk on the trip.
All right.
But whenever it says Kareem, help him, and so he sends you.
The lad needs a bodyguard.
He's turning
Fishing.
around and giving everybody
Come around
directions. And he sits down and kicks his foot up on the table and leans back.
Every single inch of this net is knotted.
You best get on it then.
He turns around and throws the empty mug at you. All right, hit your roll your body. Let's see if you can dodge the sucker. Try to get over.
Take a wound for.
Try to
a
get
bump
over
to
an
the
8.
head.
I rolled a 3.
You rolled a 3.
Nice.
Okay. That hits you in the arm and the side of it, and side of the chest or whatever, comes up, hits your jaw, and it bounces off with some force. You know, it definitely wakes
my
you
arrow
up.
wound.
Wakes
Yeah.
you, yeah,
Bro,
wakes
you're
you
taking
up.
a beating, man.
It reopens that wound a little bit, and blood gushes out or whatever, and he's laughing. He's laughing. So make it quick. Make it quick. And you do have supplies and netting and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah.
But obviously,
Kind of.
I mean, yeah, and you know, Kareem, too, that they had little areas around the island to where they would put some of the rocks and make little catches there for the fish.
Yeah.
As it goes around. So that's what.
Yeah, so I'm kind of leading him outside, not even paying attention to the.
Yeah, and the moment you show it to me, I
mug.
know exactly what we're doing. I'm like, okay, I'll reel this in and check these traps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check the traps, and that's what you're doing is trying to get dinner.
Yeah, and I kind of sit on a rock nearby and kind of scan over the.
Oh no, that's just fine,
surroundings.
Karen. You just sit there. I'll carry all these fish and check the nets.
That's what you were brought along for, after all.
Okay.
Come over here, jeez. Yeah.
Okay. When you fellas get there, Ragnvald, you're out begrudgingly collecting lumber, it seems, and you turn the corner and over. You catch something that's a little bit not part of the. Shouldn't be part of the scenery as far as that. Everything's been quiet when you walked out. You've stomped away, obviously, I guess, and your description of being kind of miffed.
Yeah, I'm carrying like one stick right now.
Yeah, you're carrying one.
I'm kicking
stick
other
and-
sticks, but I am not loaded with lumber. I'm like
you're-
begrudgingly, I've got like one stick, thinking what the. I'm not gonna get rich doing this.
Yeah, and there is at this time, you see a individual. Looks like you can't tell if it's a man or it's a woman. Is totally stark naked, and off in the distance a little bit, and it's a high pitched whine. It's got long, stringy black hair, and it's almost crying and sniveling and whatnot. And the
I
curled
look
up almost in
around.
the fetal position, but sitting up and rocking back and forth.
I look around behind me to see if any of the other slaves or my shipmates are seen or noticed. If they haven't, I will pitch this stick of wood away and kind of approach slowly this individual.
Now roll your luck for me, okay? Because you do see 2 or 3. You see them all from the distance.
Critical failure, 1. But I have a luck of 1, so 2.
Okay.
Critical failure.
Okay. Well, they do notice the individual, and it's he or she, you can't really tell at this distance, is naked but covered with all kind of different. You tell it's dredged from the river, like they were probably washed up or had, come up from that, but they're covered with it, mud and packed and everything like that, and crying and sniffling and everything. And the other 2 notice, and you see one of them split grin and everything, and start stomping them. Look what we got here! And then one to your left and one to your right. This person's right in front of you, and you're a little bit closer than the other 2 as they walk on toward it. They stomp on, and one of them's pulling out. They're both pulling out their axes, and walking over there to see what is what. All right.
Yeah, I'll quicken my step to keep pace with him.
Okay. All right. When you get close, the individual turns around, and it is a woman. All right. It seems to be a rather old woman, which you would be like 35 or so. All right. 35.
18. I'm 16.
Somewhere in the mid 30s. She's an oldish woman, and she's haggard and gray and black hair, stringy, matted, and she's going backwards, and she's got some kind of stick with string and little looks like animal bones on it, and slinging it at you, and there's mud on the animal bones that's going out.
Okay.
And she's hissing at you right now, and the other 2 as they're approaching, and she's doing like that and making all kind of different gestures.
Hag. What are you doing here? What did she
leave my island? And
Your island, you old hag.
She stands up like that and is throwing her arms up, and you can tell her body's half a mesh. It's got sores all over it and
right.
whatnot. And she starts howling at this moment, and she is. You address her. The other 2 are laughing as she starts running immediately right toward you. All right.
Toward me.
Yeah, toward you.
Okay.
And she's screaming and swinging that little device, that little charm or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna basically allow her to get close, and then I'm just going to use my strength and my acumen as a great warrior to just take control of her. Stop her, wrestle her arms down. Look, lady, look, you old hag.
Okay.
Control yourself.
Okay. She hits the ground. There's no really problem doing that. And
okay.
when you got her on the ground, her hands are in the mud. She's letting go of the stick in her hand, and she's looking at it and whispering some kind of thing as she's crying back and forth. And she looks at the what was a stick in her hand, and you see it transform. This is what you're thinking. You're seeing at least.
Okay.
All right. And her head's all sinking in the mud and everything, because it's a little bit of a mire area around here. It's close to the edge, the northern edge of the island. It's sinking in, and then snakes start pulling up from around her head and slithering out of the hole, and it looks like her head is sinking into this mud and mire, and these snakes are slithering out above her and around her and going toward her hand. The device that she has in her hand, that little thing, she's raising it, she's shaking it, and it's clackling. It sounds a lot like a rattle in a way. And as it does, and she's screaming right now as you please calm down or whatever like that. But obviously with these snakes, and they're fairly long and black.
Okay,
as the mud that they're
I blink, rub my eyes as I kind of stumble back away, trying to decide whether this is, whether I'm, shake it off. Is this real? What is this?
Okay, she scampers back up, and you see.
Now, what are these other 2 guys doing? Do I know
They
them?
were laughing when Good Hardy laughed when she rushed you and threw her stuff on you, and then you threw her down and you were pleading with her, and they were just cut her, and then they see you freaking out.
Okay.
Now they're still when you jump up and go back, they're still kind of like laughing, but they don't understand. As she gets back up, they start to walk toward her, and they stop as she's cackling and laughing and standing there bent over toward you, and you see right below her feet these snakes that had come up from around her head, and they're like in the black ichor and mud and silt that is below her feet. You see it underneath the leaves as well as on top.
Okay.
They're all like undulating. It's like 15, 20 snake undulations going toward you.
Yeah, I'll try to continue to backpedal, lifting my feet in case it's under, the whole area.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Roll the other two.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I just assume that this is within earshot of us? Like,
Well, I was gonna
hag scream.
Yeah, y'all.
Well, you
went
may
out
be
there.
too distracted with carrying all these fish. I'm just saying.
No, y'all don't really hear this. What's going on right now? But I do want you to roll your mind.
Me?
Half-man. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. No modifier, 6.
No modifier. Okay.
3.
6. No. You see this happening, and you back up. You can't explain it. You don't know what.
Right.
The other two have shut up as well, and gods be with us, and they're starting to back up as well. And they backtrack and they start running, and she's cackling and she's stepping forward and she's pointing her thing at the other two that are standing there as they're backing up too, and they're tripping over themselves and trying to escape as fast as you are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you hadn't met them by name or whatever like that. There was on the side of the boat, but you do recognize them. Okay.
Okay.
Amongst your colleagues, and you hear her laughing in the distance as you're backing away.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll continue to shake it off. I'm not prepared to call out in panic. I'm aware enough that I don't want to appear to be a coward in front of the other Vikings. So I'm backing away and trying not to to call for help, so to speak.
Yeah. Now this whenever are you going back to the hall at this point, or
I'm just at this point I won't take my eyes off her as I try to get further and further away. I don't know where I'm backing. I'm just getting away from her.
Yeah, she's receding by you receding too, but it's almost like she's receding herself. And the undulations, snake-like undulations on the ground heading toward you are still doing that, and you still hear the leaves overturning and crackling as they're coming at you. It's an auditory thing too, and she's backing away, and you'll see her in the little den. It's a heavy canopy there, so she's grown almost to. It's like she's shrinking almost back, not in size, but away from you.
Right. As we distance from
the
each
other
other.
two are hysterical, even a little bit more so than you. One of them in particular. Okay, he's tripping over himself. Got to tell Skull Splitter, and he's running and falling over, and the other one's running past him, and they're both gone. They're not doing like you and looking behind him. Okay.
Right.
Now, Kareem and Ripper and Softblade, you two, Ripper, you've been sitting there following your nail with the with your dagger, and you do see when you're there, Softblade, obviously begrudgingly too, you do see that there has been some catch compiled in these areas. So you got the net, and if you're going about your usual work, you're going at it. I would think you're on sort of near close to where y'all were fired upon by the men with the arrows. So that would give Ripper and yourself some cause to be cautious in where your attention's at, I would think. Okay. So, but you do see some healthy fish if you want to go ahead and get them up. And
I would go ahead and just kind of go through the process of bringing them up. And then I would just remind Karam, remember to yell out when you get hit with an arrow, all right? That'd be a very big help.
Okay.
Take that into consideration.
Now, what you do see is you're heading back. You gathered up, and I guess you're heading back to the hall, right? And you get the pack slung over your shoulder, and you're walking, and then you do eye a mound of dirt, a raised mound of dirt, soil, leaves, a lot of foliage, unusually so. I mean, it is spring, it's not fall, but there's a lot of foliage, deciduous trees and whatnot, like dropping everything, and it's right here. So, but you see this mound of dirt on the way back that you didn't really take sight of going to where you were going, but coming back. And what I mean by that is coming back from the angle you're at, you see that it is concave on the other side of it. It was raised up, but it looks like when you're coming back, there seems to be some kind of descending hole inside the other side of that mound, right? And it looks like it's about 3 foot high by 1.5, 2 foot wide. The hole itself inside the mound of dirt, and it's placed in between some trees, and like I said, it's covered fairly thickly with all this canopy droppings around it. All right.
Just at a quick glance, do I see anything in there?
You do see bones sticking out of the dirt into out from that side around the door, and it looks like possibly they've been pushed in at different angles and set in there. Some of them are broken. They're more mossy than bleached, being, in this, they look fairly new, or, they don't look old. So, there's no tines or no blood, or, you do see some marrow in the broken ones. But that's what you'll see coming out. It's just something of note. So, you heading back?
Keep going along.
Okay.
Report it. Whistle as I walk.
Okay. When you do, y'all both took notice of this, obviously, and just kind of made a mental note as you're walking along carrying your fish, Soft Blade. I don't know if you're helping him, Ripper. But you do hear some mad, panicked scrambling and sounds coming from your right, and fairly soon some shipmates.
Yeah, wait, you hear that, right?
Yeah, kind of hand already on the hilt. I kind of.
All right, so yeah, going like with that.
Yeah.
So going with that, I'll drop the fish. I'll get my shield ready and draw my sword, and we'll run after it, find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna drop the fish. They hit and spill all over the place. Kind of half catered in there. They're still kicking around and whatnot on the soil. As you both head off toward that direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. The fish aren't going to get very far on land, so.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Okay. Well, that's what
we got to track them down.
You're running to this situation where the two are running past you and they notice you and they start screaming. You see
what the hell? What's going? Yeah.
You see a third backing up. You kind of see him off in the distance, but the other two are full bore trying to make it back to the, where your paths kind of intersect there, trying to get back to the hall. We've got to tell Skull Splitter, and they're panicked right now. It looks like there's
tell him what?
I kind of grab one of their arms as they're running by and kind of shake him like, "What's happening?"
It's a witch's madness. Doom is that way. We should not have came here. And they're running, and they keep on running past you. They tear away if you try to hold on to them, unless you want to roll. To force them. But they're on like that. And fairly right after they leave, you see the back of somebody you recognize, I suppose, on the ship.
Yeah, as I hear they're talking and I hear that there's other voices, I'll turn to face them. They can see I'm sweating, I'm white, I'm pale, my eyes are a little bit large. And I murmur to Moldov. I feel more a peer with Moldov because we're both kind of on our first journey. So I kind of look him in the eye and say, "It is indeed true. A witch. This is definitely, there is no profit in fooling with a witch." As I stare right at Moldov, right? Well, maybe not right at, because I'm short, so I'm looking up at Moldov, right?
Yeah. All right. So now this witch, she's not. It's like, so she's here, right? Isn't she? Or
No, she. Well, I might be kind of pointing that direction, but I don't know if you can see her.
Yeah,
right
she was kind of backing up into the woods again.
Yeah, so I'm not certain if you can see her, but
okay, so we can kind of see just like herself, like backing away slowly, kind of into the forest.
No, you guys don't see that right now. When he's pointing in the direction, he's far enough away that when she was seated off there, he knows where she was standing, but you two can't see anything. It's a little bit too far away. But you do, however, hear some splashing from where you left at, because you wasn't far from where you had gathered the fish before this all happened. Yeah, you wasn't far from the shore.
No, I feel like this is like only like what, 2 minutes away.
Yeah,
I could probably still hear the fish flapping in the back. So.
Yeah, it's a small island. Yeah, you hear the fish laying there or whatever, and then you hear cackling across the river out there too.
Yeah, and I'm pointing every time we hear it. I kind of point.
There it is.
To you, Half-Man.
Did you hear that? Moldov. She is a dangerous witch.
To you, Half-Man, she's changed.
The power of snakes at her, of vipers at her power, at her. She can command snakes. It's terrifying.
Okay, now to you, she's changed because you're pointing off in this direction. They came from your right as you're backing up.
Mm-hmm.
You intersected with them, and then they hear splashing behind them, right? Further on from where you got that. And laughing and everything, and then giggling.
So a different direction than I.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when you're doing it, you're pointing in that direction whenever you hear this new sound, and it kind of disjoints you. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There. And
and I might not realize what direction I came from at this point.
Exactly. So you're like, there. Okay. So that's what he just said to y'all. Okay. So it's kind of just, he was pointing there, and it's behind you, and then he goes. So that's how Ripper and Softblade, that's how you're seeing what's going on here. What are you doing?
I'm gonna kind of go up to Half-Man and kind of shoulder check him a little bit and kind of try to get his attention. Get a hold of yourself, lad.
Yes. But you have not seen her powers. And I wipe the mud that she flicked on me off my face. Grab my axe. Make sure I'm. My furs are about me. My leathers. Yes, Karam. Yes.
It's best not to mess with a witch on our own. We should go back to camp.
You still hear this Ragnavold, even though you're putting up a bold front toward them, toward your contact. You still hear the clamor, and I want you to roll mind as well. Okay. Softblade and Ripper.
Oh.
You just
rolled an 11 plus 1.
Okay.
I got an 11 with 0.
Okay. You both seem, you don't understand what's going on. You've seen two panicked people that you really can't make any sense out of. Then you see Half-Man, who is shaken, obviously, and looks like multi-directional, and he's hearing things or pointing in different directions. Then he calms down. So I would assume you feel like you've done your job to some extent.
It may just be sea. I have not got my land legs, but there was definitely an old hag.
Now, whenever you just told them this and you regained your composure a little bit, you're still hearing this laughing, and I would think that your eye, especially when it came up and you had to switch, you glance over there and you see her through the wood line on the shore, standing in the water, right? And you see undulations in the water. It looks like snakes coming out, from below her.
I see this.
Yeah. That's.
Oh, then I'll definitely bark out and point. Yeah.
Okay.
There.
Okay.
See her.
Yeah.
Immediately turning and looking at that.
Okay. Now, you see. Now, from what you rolled earlier, when you see it, you see somebody standing out there. But if you're looking too soft play, you see something, some figure standing in the water. You don't know who it is exactly or what. It looks, but you can't make too much out of it other than it seemed like a woman. You can faintly hear a calling, but it almost seems like a woman that's just bathing right now, which may attract you otherwise. To you, half man is a cackling witch that's throwing out.
Yeah. At this point, I'm telling Softblade and Ripper, I'm headed back to the. Oh my gosh, what do we call those?
Just
The
a
Lodge.
hall.
Lodge.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
headed
yeah.
back to the. Jeez, I'm like my mind. I'm headed back to the hall.
Yeah,
And
this old
character.
naked woman certainly did a number on you, Ragnarok.
yes.
Have you seen a woman unclothed before? I'm just saying, like maybe you're.
But see,
Like, I mean, it's
not
best
all
to.
of us. Not all of us are married, Moldoff. And I'm grabbing up all the loose sticks and firewood I can as I'm headed back to the hall.
Well,
okay.
I
mean,
advise
even
you
though
that there is no profit in embracing that witch.
I mean, I'm not here to mess with a witch either. I mean, that's not exactly what I called for. I was expecting to find weekly priests, and from the stories of the other previous raids, I don't want to mess with a witch. I think we best go to camp. I guess I better go get the fish that I dropped earlier and bring them back as well, or they'll have my hide if I don't,
Okay.
or take a cut of my treasures. So.
Right.
But what you saw, Ripper and Soft Blade, could have been no more than a peasant out there. You know what I mean?
Even
washing
then, I
their clothes
gotta
or whatever.
cautiously be like, well, he said witch. I'm not gonna mess with it. I know they can
Oh, yeah.
change. What
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm
saying-
guessing I've never seen like witchings at this like settlement before, so I'm gonna be kind of skeptical. But
Yeah, you didn't have anything.
Yeah.
There wasn't any kind of occurrence like this last time
right,
you were there. So if you all head back to
Ripper, get it.
if you all head back to the hall, you get back there, and there seems to be Skull Splitter eyes you as you come in, half man.
Mhm.
Where's my
Yeah.
wood for my fire?
Yeah, I don't know how much I've collected on my way back, but I drop it kind of dumbstruck at his feet, and I start looking about for a pagan in the lodge here in the hall, a spiritual nook
Icon
where
or
I
some
can
kinda-
a pagan ritual nook where I can maybe go
purge yourself.
or ask
Right.
ask for a little protection, a little decursing from the gods. Yes.
Okay. You do find that a little bit. I mean, he kind of looks at you. He doesn't really pay too much attention. He's just like, "Where's my lumber?" And other people are carrying it in, and there seems to be a roaring fire already gathered, and people dropping lumber there. And you did get the fish. Is that correct, Soft Blade? All right.
Yep, that's right. I mean, what I'll do is I'll probably end up cleaning them outside if there's like a table or something like that.
Yeah,
or just a
there-
flat
there
area.
is.
I'll just take my knife.
There is, and it's pretty uneventful when that happens. You do what you got to do. The evening progresses.
Do I see the other two that were afflicted by the same experience I had? Did they come back? Are they here?
Yeah, that's what I was about to elaborate on a little bit.
Oh,
They're
sorry.
not inside. They're not inside right now. As far as
So they're not
Softblade-
in here when I look around.
No, they're not in here when you look around. But the other Softblade, when you're out there, you skin the fish. I don't know if you want to say that, half man, but you're over there whenever it appears to you, you're looking around and you don't see anything. And you see someone, Ripper, you're on the inside. The fish is done. There seems to be some stores of some some heart attack or whatnot in there too, and they're breaking out. But in general, Skull Splitter is not pleased, nor is Blood Axe about the situation. They're clamoring, one Blood Axe after the other. If we're stuck here for another year, we need to get the rating as soon as possible. And then Skull Splitter looks over and kind of acknowledges the fact that is right. You guys are out of supply here. A lot of what was here has either been broken into or, it left. And there wasn't much left at all the last time it was there. So as far as during the night, it's relatively quiet when you all bed down. He did find a cask or keg of ale, but they more or less kept that to themselves overall. Or bogarted it. You did get some if you wanted to, but I know you you may need it for your nerves as you calm down.
Sure. Yeah, mostly I would have composed myself at the ritual.
Yeah.
And then I might have at least attempted to drown some of the fear with L.
Yeah, but you do see anytime you see it's a bad omen for you, right? So fear of your first outing being one of death.
Yeah, but I'm trying not to think about that or talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm asking the gods to reset.
Yeah.
Why me? My uncles, my father. Oh, great Vikings.
Okay.
What is this you're telling me, Odin? What is it you're showing me?
Yeah, you don't hear anything in response. Now you can do. Now go ahead, roll soul on that if you want.
Roll.
Yeah, your soul.
5.
5. Yeah, it's silent in return. Okay, so maybe your machinations would help appease your that, but not worry. You didn't get no answer from that. So
okay.
Anyway,
and then I'll drink enough to help me
pass out.
Help me ease into sleep.
Okay. You sleep and then you wake up early as the hall comes to life again, and everybody's clamoring, getting their weapons and equipment and ready. And it seems that there's the 2 boatwrights that were there with you have repaired the ship somewhat, and Blood Axe and Skull Splitter are at it and very gruff and ordering everybody around into the boats. Let's get down to the monastery down the way.
Okay.
And then somebody's grumbling under there. Ripper, you recognize them from last time. If they're still there, those damn priests are still there, and he's grumbling a little bit. Yeah, you know that you've sacked them like 2 or 3 times already, right? So
they'll give us no more trouble than any other time.
If they're still there. But anyway,
what can be left there, Ripper? What can be left for us? This is like picking over a dead corpse. It sounds like.
They always find ways to build their coffers again.
Then they are stupid.
Shoulder.
Then they are stupid people. Good.
Perhaps. I kind of pat Halfman's shoulder as I sit down, look at my oar.
They gather in everything, and then you see all the men putting everything in the boat and getting ready and shoving it off. They seem to be well equipped with and yourselves too with handling that boat and getting it back into the stream. You don't see any activity on the other shore, as opposed, and you do see Blood Axe pause and look over before Skull Splitter lays a hand on him. You can tell. I mean, they're both not literal brothers, but brothers. They've seen a lot of combat together. And then he whisks him away like that. Let's get on. So after the shove off and everybody, you're back at your seat with the oars and following the leader, as they say. And Blood Axe is hitting it in cadence, and everybody's going along.
I murmur to myself, Odin, you better not. Basically, I'm asking Odin to lift the curses upon me for this trip. First, you try to sink our boat. You put a witch in front of me. So I'm mumbling all of this kind of to myself as we row.
Yeah, you see a little stirring as you row. I mean, as you row, if you ever look over, as often you'll want to do when you're rowing, you'll see like even around the row itself, you can almost see snakes in the water. You go, or at least visualize it in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit. The further away from you get to the place, the further the peace comes on you a little bit, and the laughter, which is almost like a ringing in your ears, subconsciously and off, dies down a little bit as you leave, right? So to you on your spot, it's a little bit more comfort there. All right. So as you're rowing on, you do see, and Ripper, you've seen this before. There's a town in the distance, probably about 15 minutes, or as you go down, like you see a town, you see a hill, a town right on the edge of the water, and a hill raising up behind it. So there seems to be people going about, and once they see, so they take notice. Hold on.
You and Runeslinger, I mean, it's role playing with dogs, man.
That village has one single dog barking at us.
Yeah, the last time he said it was a dragon. But anyway, you see that the town, and when the people take notice, they freeze up. They start running in the doors. They slam and shut, and then the town's cleared itself, right? And you see on the rise of the hill, you see a little fortification up there, and the people seem to be going toward that fortification and getting inside. He keeps rowing a little bit more and passing on there, and you see up in the corner, not that far away from it, on the edge of the river and on that hill as it wrapped around, you see the monastery. And Ripper, you'll recognize that too. Is that? So he docks the boat and he starts urging everybody out and up the trail to the monastery. All right. So this is about 5 minutes away from the town, a little bit.
What of the village at this moment?
What?
Do we just leave it?
Yeah, he left the village right now. He went past it. You could still hear the discordant, as a matter of fact, blood axe. You can tell he shakes his head. You can tell he's not in with Skull Splitter's plans. He's missed opportunities and kind of going with the same old, etc. But anyway, that seems to be where they're going right now. All right. So, and he does grumble somewhat. But anyway, you're heading up to, he's got the whole throng of y'all heading up the thing to the monastery. And you'll see that they're already bound up in there. There seems to be a wooden, the front gate or the front door is shut. Seems to be a low stone wall around it with gardens and whatnot, and a high a tower, 2-story with a bell on the top. And Ripper, he was here before, and you know the whole deal. They go about knocking the door. There's screams on the inside and pleads for to be left alone. Get away from us, you demons! That'll be what you hear from inside the house. Leave us be. We've done naught to you. All right, he's laughing and kicking in the door, and they're pulling off any kind of iconography and throwing it down. The cross, and he's telling them, "Bring me the torch. Let us in, or we'll torch the place." All right, so they're banging on the door enough. This is to be an idle threat to where they get it open, it loosens and comes in. The monks are running about. You see the area where they were working on some scrolls and whatnot, and they're all huddled in the corner. You know, if this is their defense, there's nothing to it. All right. So he goes about just trashing the place, looking for any gold plates, anything silver, any whatever, and he's threatening them. They've got one of them strung up right now. Seems to be the major father. Tell us, we know you've got more than this. You had more last time. The guy's like, no, you've taken it all. We have everything. And Blood Axe is saying similarly, you know, 1,000 times come here. Wasting time. All right, so that's what you say.
I'll look around, you know, if there's stairwells up into towers or there's doors, I'll look around for silver or gold or, anything that looks of value.
What I was going to say is, the floor also, is it wood or is it stone?
Oh, it's actually ground. All right, so it's like a pauper's, little monastery. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no roof on this.
Well, I mean, it's a wood roof, but it's
okay.
You can tell there's stonework. It's a wood roof, but on the bottom floor it's just earth and then a thatch.
Is there an altar or anything like that?
Yeah.
On the far side.
Yeah, it's got some pews and an altar in the front and different workstations. For where they were writing different things and quills. But he's walking through and throwing paperwork around and knocking quills off and everything, just generally making a mess of it.
I'm just taking a quick look just on the ground, just to see if there may have been a spot where I can see where they may have dug something to try and hide some items, or even if there's something maybe within the altar, like just to flip it.
Oh yeah, flip it over. Do your worst. Each of you roll your luck, okay?
6.
6. Okay, roll yours, softly.
I rolled a 3.
3. What are you doing, Ripper? You standing there?
Yeah, kind of standing idle at the front gate.
Okay.
Keeping an eye over the people.
Okay. There is
watching for shady.
When you flip that out, it comes up and falls over. They're aghast and everything. All the priests, they look worn out. They've got the one that seems to be the abbot over the others, and he's strung up and he's pleading, leave, and then he's stretched out somewhat as they got him hung up by his arms or whatever, and he puts his hands together like that, and he starts saying some kind of prayers. He's rotating around as they're beating him, and they start to cut him and stripping the robe off of him. So he's laid there other than a tendril of strength, of clothing on him. And he starts, he's muttering and saying some kind of, he's saying a prayer, but y'all can't. They're laughing and they're just spinning him around. The other aldermen are all huddled in the corner, bowed, Okay. He cries out right now and he vomits and upchucks as he's spinning around, and it gets on Blood Axe, and Blood Axe gets immediately angry and picks up his axe and swings, and clearly, almost severs the old man's. He's an older man, but he's real frail. Almost a clean cut through, and half of his bottom torso slings out like that, falls and starts swinging opposite direction as he's swinging. Right, so he's laying there, and then everybody cheers as he's like disgusted and wiping this stuff off of him. And he's walking around and looking. There's a barrel in the corner with some holy water. He starts dipping it and cleaning himself off while he's cussing. And now his rage is a little bit up. And Skull Splitter's laughing at him too. And he pulls his head up out of there. You make me waste my time. And then he runs. He's wiping his eyes out of the water and all the vomit and everything. And he's still got the axe in his hand. He's already swung it again. And he takes a massive charge at Skull Splitter. All right.
Okay.
Y'all watching this going down. You Ripper outside.
It's a brawl cheering on that one.
Yeah, y'all are.
I'll sidle up to Moldoff as this is all transpiring, looking at what he's looking for, around the altar, and we'll say to him, "Oh, there's no profit in this. Still no profit here."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on myself. I was actually expecting a little bit more, but it doesn't seem to be like there's nothing hidden here.
We are led by old men, Moldov.
No.
Well, old men who have already made their riches.
They clash right then. It backs. These are two humongous guys, and it backs him up like 6 foot tall each, around a little bit. Very weighty. It backs Skull Splitter up to where he slams up against one of the pews, loses his balance, stands up, and he says, "You've been after me for a while, haven't you?" And he starts grimacing, and he reaches over and reaches over as far as weapon, and Blood Axe grabs his shield and picks up, and he starts clanging it, and they're shoving these pews out of the way, and they're starting to circle, and everybody's watching this go down. And and
I'll join the circle, with my axe, hitting the floor, hitting my shield.
Yeah, everybody
making as much noise as I can.
Everybody's doing this in unison as they go at it, and you hear or you feel more or less these swings, these massive swings, vocals. He bites into his sword with his axe. They return. It feels like forever, but it doesn't last that long. As oh geez. Okay. As Blood Axe gets his vengeance is sated, he bites his blade into the neck of Skull Splitter. Yeah, and the head half comes off, and he pulls it out, and he kicks off of him, and Skull Splitter falls back over, hits the pew, rolls off, hits the ground, and everybody's quiet for a minute. The priest over there in the corner are like, "This is horrific." Then everybody just cheers and raises.
Just erupts, yeah.
Yeah, just erupts like that. And he goes, "The hell with this place." And he's wiping the blood off of him that just splattered him when he did that. And he turns around with me. And then he walks out and leads you back down if you're following him that way.
I linger to put Skull Splitter's sword in his hand, send him to Valhalla.
Oh, he's
okay.
So I'll kneel down and slide his sword in his hand and say,
"Okay, you do that."
Send him to Valhalla.
Yeah, Blood Axe didn't have any kind of cognizance or awareness of mind to even care about that. He was too enraged of it. But
and then I'll at once it's pretty much empty. I'll walk over to the cowering priests. "What kind of people are you? You don't defend yourselves? There's no fight in you?"
Yeah, they just recoil a little bit as you do that. You do notice when you get the sword in his hands, you see like some kind of an awareness in the Skull Splitter, and his gaze focuses in on you, and then his eyes go dim, and he goes lifeless. Didn't last long, but you recognize that he took what you said and sent him to Valhalla. So you feel secure in that. You're the last one to leave, as the rest of them have already filed out. After storming Blood Axe, as they go down, retrace their steps, and he orders the place torched. In fact, when you're in there, you hear the crackling of the thatched roof above you, and little cinders start to fall when you walking out. And then as you're walking down the hill, the timbers are falling too. All right.
I'll pull the doors shut behind me for the to leave the cowards to burn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'm not going to bar it, but I just assume they'll die. I just assume they'll let themselves perish. But I don't bar it or anything, but I pull them shut.
Okay.
On the.
I'm going to assume they'll be that polite.
Right.
They're loading up on the long ship again, and riding it. When you get there, they pretty much did everything. They starting to kick off from shore. You do manage to get on there, half a man, in spite of your size and everything. So they give you a hand up, and they right the ship and turn back around. He says, let's go take us some women, some slaves, possibly some gold, more so than this place. Bloodaxe is staying at the stern of the ship or whatever, and he starts clacking it like that, and with renewed vigor, the crew, which had been kind of rowing, with a slow cadence, pick up their pace, and there's a little bit more like yes as they row toward that.
As I'm taking my seat at the oar, being last on the boat, it is time. This is like a crew that of old ladies. As I take my seat and begin to row.
They pull up soon to the town that you had passed, about a little bit earlier around the edge, and you see the doors all shut. Obviously, there's a little fortification. You do see little pickets of what seems like spears moving about atop the palisade of this.
It looks as though there may be fight here, men.
Yeah, they're a little bit far off above the rise, when you walk into the town. So he's disembarking. He's ordered that the ship be pulled up to the dock, and everybody's eagerly offloading and pulling up the ship. Even the ones pulling up the ship don't want to pull up the ship because the rest of them are jumping out and eager to go get some prize, some booty. So they head out, and it's kind of wild abandoned. It's not like it's not organized whatsoever. With Bloodaxe, it is like a blood rage in a way, as they start hacking the doors. River, you haven't seen it to this deal before, and you've only been on one outing before, and that was orchestrated by Skull Splitter. But this right here seems a little bit. From your description of your character, it's speaking to you. They're biting into it. Yeah. They're getting into a rage almost compared to the way you enjoy yourself.
Yeah, this is kind of the point where like the adrenaline's starting to set in. Maybe I'm starting to tremble and shake as I row.
It's a bunch of howling. It's a bunch of going crazy around you. The drone is
start mumbling under my breath, and then just start getting louder and louder. And
there seems to be several places. The mud and the mire are thick around here. There seem to be walkways with basically wooden walkways that allow you to get around, and the people who get around, it leads to several buildings up here. A lot of the places there are screams from the inside. A lot of like I said, there was like 32 of y'all, minus one, so 31 of y'all right now, including y'all, hacking and slashing, breaking windows out and going in, pulling women out into the middle of the streets and going to work right then and there. There's definitely a rage. If it's a woman, it's one way. If it's a man, they've been either strung up or slit.
Yeah, and I'm looking for any valuables, silver, jewels on them or on their persons. If they're small hovels or doors, I'll go into their, and ransack their buildings looking for silver, glass, blown glass, things of value to us that.
You see a couple of two-story buildings that have writing on them and some other writing that you can't decipher what this is. It's not at all like the ruins that you're used to.
I'll set a fire, whatever, with torches, and after I've checked my, for valuables, I'll light it.
Yeah. Now at this time, you're lighting things. Roll your luck as far as any of y'all searching, for what you're going to do.
7.
Okay. You do find a plate set, a silver plate, in one of the buildings you went into, and it happened to be a two-story building, and it was in the bottom area. When you broke in there, there was tables around, and a fireplace, a bar over to the side. It seemed to be empty, but at the moment, you see that when you go behind the bar is when you find the plate, and it was down low.
No,
That's
I
right.
rolled a 10.
A 10?
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You find, as far as what you're targeting, an area, are y'all sticking together on this? Or you kind of just wild abandon going?
I think it's
I think
it's just
Moldov-
chaos.
Yeah.
isn't it?
I think
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
care less. Yeah.
Because the leadership,
To each
Just
biking
going
his
at it.
own,
the
right?
leadership, the leadership has had his head cut off.
Oh, yeah. No,
So
that's
anybody
fine.
who's
I just didn't know if you were sticking with anybody, but when you go in there, it is a building. You go in there, you do find some jewelry. All right. Now you don't know that it looks like a chain that you could wear yourself. You don't determine if it's woman or man or whatever, but it does sparkle. All right. So that's what you find.
Once I've landed some valuable, like the silver plate set,
Yeah.
I'll of course be looking for dispatching all the grown fighting men that I can, and looking for young teenagers, young kids that I can actually make decent slave profit on.
Yeah. There isn't too. Right now, there has been several, like 3 women, and apparently their mates drug out.
Okay.
And skewered. They're
Right.
not looking for.
Because
right
I'm
now.
thinking at this point, I'm going to make more silver on slaves than I am on these poor people.
Yeah, you're pocketing this silver plate. Ripper, what'd you roll?
I also rolled a 10 plus 1 for luck.
You did? Okay.
So,
Now you find this little ornamental ring that you can put around your finger. All right.
yeah, what I'm going to add on to that is I'm going to say that I actually grabbed somebody's hand and like severed their arm at the elbow and saw the ring on the hand as I'm like
Okay.
running around.
Okay. You pull
And then I'm
that
going
off.
to tear the ring off of that finger and then just, kind of grab it in my hands.
Okay. And while all this chaos is, and there's not that many, but it's a lot of pillaging right now going on. There's not really much of a resistance. The houses have been breaking into, and as you go out, aside from the din of everybody screaming and yelling, there is a creaking and then a great hurrah from up the hill as these gates have been opened. And these soldiery are coming out. Not in humongous numbers, but enough to equal or somewhat surpass you a little way. It seems like you can't really get your finger on it if there could be 35 to 45 to 50, as they're intermixed, and they're rushing down the hill. And they've all got an assortment of anything from pitchforks to spears to everything else. It seems like they've matched your intensity with insanity as they're rolling down the hill.
Right.
But everybody's in this bloodlust in the corner. So roll your mind, each of you. Yeah, for your awareness.
11.
11,
7.
7. Okay.
I rolled a 12.
Dang. Okay,
Hey.
Soft Blade, immediately, like you, whenever you stood up and you had this necklace and you were looking at it, you saw more than heard, like the bolt of this door slam down and it start to creak open. Now, Half Man, you're turning it as you step out onto the porch, from exiting this building, and you happen to look up right in there, and the sun is right behind it as the doors are opening, almost fully open, and people are starting to pour out. But you've seen this whole process, Soft Blade. So if you want to, jump the gun a little bit and alert, go at it, Ripper.
Yeah, I would go ahead and do that. I would just yell that.
Okay, and that's
Just
probably,
yell at everybody.
Yeah, that's where I become aware and my head just snaps over and I lock on and like ready myself for round 2.
yeah.
Right.
Now
Like-
you do become aware. Half Man does hear his yell and steps out. And that's where you look. But Ripper, you're kind of in an acoustic shadow behind a building, and whenever you do come out, they're pretty much halfway down the hill. All right, and the din is quiet sometime as on your side of things at least. And you come around that corner, it just explodes, and you see a horde of people coming down.
Mm-hmm.
So there is clashing at the front end. Y'all are somewhere in the middle of this chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But Blood Axe and the ones who jumped the boat first and got off there at the head of it, and the ones who jumped off soon are already engaged in melee with these. And it you see a head fly through the air as Blood Axe cleaves one clean.
Mm-hmm.
As they're filtering through, and then the brunt hits you, I want you to roll. Let me see for a second here. Okay, around y'all's area there is 5 individuals, and
All right.
2 of them are on either side of you, half man. Either side of you, there's 1 around you, Ripper, and 2 around you, Soft Blade. So you are a little positioned away from each other, not to be, able to go back to back. But that's what you're facing right now.
Right.
And they seem there's no they seem like a mismatch of armor pieces on them, and some just kind of put on hastily.
Sure.
There's actually there's 2 legit, look like trained fighting men amongst them, with spears, and the other ones are more or less peasants with axes and whatnot.
Well, I'll yell out, of course, and then I'll out loud say, "Finally, men worth their salt," and I'll throw my shield up in the direction to block one while I swing my axe at the other.
Okay. Now, give it a roll.
4 with my +2 combat.
Okay. Now, when you swing to hit the other, he parries away your shield. They're a little bit too far apart and too distance for you to keep.
Yeah, kind of surprises me.
As they're wheeling around you like that. And they're grimacing. They look like the one you can tell is a little bit more of a soldier, is more intent on you and focused. The other was just wild swinging.
Mm-hmm.
But he does nip you on the thigh, the back end of the thigh.
And now I've made aware that I have put myself in a bad strategic position here.
Yeah. Now, jumping over to you, Soft Blade, we'll do these rounds. There's similar situation. There's one soldierly, and another one looks like a militia peasant.
I'm gonna go for the path of least resistance. I'm going to stab the crap right out of that peasant.
Okay, now go ahead and roll that. Now they're wheeling around you somewhat similarly like dogs would, So.
So I rolled a 5, and my combat is 2, so that's a 7 in total.
Okay. Now you do successfully bite into the peasant. All right, but I'm going to add the because you had to turn. You're going to be at a slight disadvantage right now. So you do puncture him. You tell me how that transpires.
Okay, so what I do is I kind of come right up to him, but because it's just a peasant, he's probably like I'm giving a war cry. He's probably screaming in fear. He goes to kind of raise his fork to kind of go for a block when I'm coming up to him, and I come in under, put it right into his belly, drive it right up to where it stopped out of his rib cage, and rip it right out, just disemboweling him right in front of him.
Okay. Yeah, you did that. You did that with the peasant.
Did that with a fillet knife, right? Fishmonger.
Oh, jeez! I thought this was a sword.
Yeah, you do that now.
That was with your fillet knife, right?
That's just what happened, but you did have to turn at a disadvantaged position to.
Yeah, the
do
soldier's got. He's in my blind side. I totally.
Yeah, so we'll pick that up in a second. Yeah. Go ahead, Ripper. What's happening with you?
Yeah.
You got
Ripper kind of sees this.
Somebody right now is very timidly coming at you with a pitchfork.
Yeah, Ripper kind of sees this guy approaching me, and he kind of throws down the severed arm that he's still holding in his hand. He kind of like casts it aside, and then in the same motion, pulls the shield off his back and then like kind of like bashes sword and shield, like come at me. And
you're marching straight toward him. He gives wide eye when he sees the arm. Okay, so he starts to. I want you to roll your dice right now.
Okay.
Use your. I'd say use your soul because this is more of an intimidation thing.
Oh, okay. 6 with no bonus.
Okay. Well, I mean, with him, he slips in the mud, slips backwards, falls off the plank since he was on, falls into the mire, and is getting half stuck, and he's still trying to back out of it, but he's getting no traction.
But I'm already rushing him. Yeah.
Okay. So. Now back to you, half man. All right. Roll again. Let's see what happens.
So I focus. I'm going to turn all of my attention onto the one that actually found purchase in my thigh because he's clearly found his range and he's clearly the threat. So I turn all my attention on him, shield in hand, and then I'm. My goal is to lure him in onto the shield and then use the axe underneath the shield. Critical failure.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Again.
Well, that's one misstep.
Critical failure.
You were on the
first and last raid.
So much for half man.
That's what happens.
You're gonna be a half man.
Half dead.
Half dead already.
They're gonna re-nickname me Half Dead.
You're just lucky we're not in jaw.
When you step forward to do that, gutting maneuver, and when you do, because he had reached out and hit you with the pitchfork and bit into your thigh and came out, and you step forward, and your heel slips off of the planks. It would have been if it was solid ground, it'd have been no problem whatsoever. But it slips off it scrapes up the back of your leg.
Right.
It goes down there. You almost split yourself onto the planks as you cartwheel right there and fall face down into the mud with your shield right in front of you and your sword into the mud. So you did a deep, angry wound to that mud. So
not to me.
Well,
yeah. Did I suffer a wound?
Right now, you've already suffered. No, I'm good. Well, when you hit like that,
critical failure.
Critical failure. Yeah, you need to suffer a wound on that.
Yeah,
it's a severe disadvantage. You're right for the picking.
Okay.
But what he does is he raises up. You hear him scream above you as he raises up, and he's diving the pitchfork into your back, and you feel it sink into all the tines, sink into it and dig into it, and puncture somewhat. And he raises up and he's doing it again.
Sure.
So you're like a pin cushion right now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking this is why I knew.
Should have stayed on
with the hole in the boat and the witch, she cursed me. So I'm literally facing the mud, thinking these thoughts. I was doomed. This was a bad omen from the moment we got to this accursed land.
Yeah, you can feel the air holes just, And all right, back to you, Soft Blade. All right, Danny.
Okay, so you said that I'm at a distinct disadvantage right now. So
I am.
So
yeah, he is too. He's got his.
I am too.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So because I was able to kill the one, but then I have this actually trained soldier that's also right beside me.
Oh.
So taking a look at this guy. So he's not going to be as easy.
Now just tell me what you want to do, and we'll roll and see what happens.
Okay, so what does he have? Does he have a shield? Does he have is he sword and shield, sword and board? Does he only have one weapon out? And just
he's got a sword. He's got a sword and a small buckler, and he's standing there. And you made that conscious decision to turn around and take out that peasant and put your back to him because they had pretty much, like I said, on either side. So you are starting this. If you depending on what you want to do, I'll set the target difficulty.
Okay.
To be a fluid movement, turn it around, and you gutted that guy. And what you gonna do?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually try and go for a swing on this guy then to see what I can do.
Okay.
Just to kind of gauge and find out like how well he is. So I rolled a 3, combat 2, so 5.
Okay. Now this is horrific. This is what actually happens when you gut him and you pull it out like that. You don't get a chance. What's in your mind that's going to happen isn't happening, because as you're pulling out, you feel that sword slide into your back, your kidney. Okay. So it goes deep, and then you hear the buckler hit up against your back and pushes you forward. So you're half stumbling over the peasant that you just wiped out. As you're turning around, it does you kind of pirouette off the peasant, and you're looking at the soldier that just punctured you. Okay, so that's what he is. Your feet is back on solidly on the planks. All right, what are you doing, Ripper?
Still pretty much rushing after that one soldier I just intimidated. I'm gonna charge him down and basically just come down on him with my sword.
Okay. All right. Roll. See what happens. See if that manifests as the truth.
That is a 7 with combat of 4, so 11.
Good grief. Okay, that's no problem. He was reeling back in the mud. He was already kind of his butt in an area, and he's trying to back up. And when you do, describe to me what happens. Whatever, because he can't dislodge himself before you say.
Oh yeah. Okay, so basically just from standing over him and rushing, just full momentum into his shoulder, and then like the sword kind of gets stuck in his body a little bit, so I grab with my other hand and pull back and just cleave into his head 2 or 3 good times, and then
so you're sitting there just
yank away and
doing the
going in on his head, and then I
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, you see him lose the ghost in a couple of whacks, and his head becomes, discombobulated, and then he slumps and falls back in the mud, and his eyes go wide, and your bloodlust is at an all-time high. All right.
Going at it. Am I like within vision radius of like either of the other 2 guys?
Roll out of curiosity. Roll your mind right now, and yes, you are. As he falls back and is down, but this is why I got you rolling mind.
Yeah, so that's 6.
6. Okay. Your vision is glazed over. It's like you're looking at everybody. You turn around and a thought passes that you might see if anybody you notice or whatever, who to attack basically. And you see several targets, and these could be anybody. All right. So we'll just roll to see who you go after. All right.
Sure.
So just pick a target and roll. There's 4 of them in your wake. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I want you to roll your luck. Soft blade and half man.
God, who am I gonna bail out?
7.
7. Okay.
Also 7.
Okay. Now you see 4 of them in your wake, 4 targets. So you're after the next, if you prefer.
Just whichever one's closer, I guess.
Okay. So you're running after that. Okay. Let's go back to you, half man.
I'm going to face in the mud. I'll say a quick prayer to Odin. This is not how I will go on my first Viking, and I kind of thrust with all my strength up out of the mud where I can breathe, and then I yell out a guttural yell, and I try to flip over, hopefully tearing loose his pitchfork from his grip and the whole deal. So I'm leaving my shield and my axe. I'm pressing up, and I'm going to try to roll over, taking his weapon from him.
Roll your soul or body. What do you think is more appropriate for this with your character?
Spirit, because my body's busted up pretty good. I've got a pitchfork in my bag, so this is straight
sheer
guts.
force of
this
will.
This is adrenaline guts. I'm not dying
That's my
here.
first inclination. Yeah.
4.
4.
No modifier. I have no
It's all
spirit.
about guts. I don't got no guts.
You try to lift up with all your might, and you get about halfway
Screaming.
up. Your arms start pitching every which direction, and then the mud just slipping below you further as you're trying to push up. It's like and then right there, your face kisses the mud again as you feel
Okay.
feel not only the pitchfork in your back, but a sword pinched into it too. So go ahead and take another wound on that.
Yeah, so I'm definitely at this point
You're going down.
I'm starting to curse Odin.
Pitchfork in your
No,
back.
I'm
sword in your
actually
stomach.
thinking Valhalla.
I know you
Here
don't
I
even
come.
You better keep that sword in your hand.
I'm
But
trying
anyway,
to find that axe now in the mud, you know.
That's a shameful
I'm
way
gonna
to
die
die.
with this sucker
I don't know
curled
if
under
you'll
me in a fetal position.
All right, soft blade. I know you got to go, but what's your role for your situation? Soft blade.
Okay, so, well, what do we have? So we have a guy just got stabbed in the back by this soldier who kind of ran me through and then pushed me off with his buckler, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm going to kind of turn around, look at him, and kind of give him a smile, raise my shield up. I'm just going to actually kind of just rush up and just charge him and push him with my shield and knock him down.
Oh, nice.
Okay, go ahead and do that with his body. Okay.
Okay. Uh, 8 + 1, 9.
Yeah. Okay. There is when you hit him, it surprises him. You pirouetted and you gained footing and ground so much, and your intent and focus was directly on him, and he gets buffeted off of the thing. He recoils and takes a couple of back steps or whatever like that. But you did. I should let you describe how you affect him. You do make purchase in him.
Okay, so actually doing with that, he probably at the last minute kind of raises up his buckler, but that ends up just kind of smashing his arm numb and dead as it pushes him back, and he kind of drives and takes a couple steps back, loses his, can't keep track of his steps, and falls down on his back with basically his numbed arm kind of just falling on top of him,
Okay.
and his sword kind of just laying off to the side. Now, I'm sorry to say, Del, unfortunately, I'm not able to stay for the whole session.
No, that's fine.
I'm not sure if you saw that message I kind of posted.
Yeah, I did. That's why I said I know you got to go, but now I appreciate you staying that long. We could. I'm sure somebody's about to die, so maybe they could, transfer, jump. Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
So it might
Dude,
be-
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
All right,
I apologize. In
all right.
this, if you win something, then you get to narrate exactly what happens. And if you
Right.
want,
Okay.
if you want to like use spirit or whatever, you have to couch it in the narrative.
Okay.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
no, for
That kind
me,
of thing.
yeah, for me, no, I'm just gaining the advantage, hopefully, for the next round. I kind of
Yeah.
just put him at a huge disadvantage. So he's down on the
Okay.
ground, arm numb, ready to go. So looks like Reaganbell's ready to go to Valhalla. So you can take over for Moldov. He should be in Discord,
Right.
so he should have a sheet there too.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
anyways, but it was nice.
Yeah, I
meeting-
actually copied it and pasted it for my notes when I do
Yeah.
if I do a recap, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks,
so-
Justin, for joining us, man. I know it's
Yeah.
a holiday there for you guys,
Yeah.
so thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you a lot for dropping in.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was a lot of fun as always, guys. So
I'm trying to keep you alive, though.
Well, if not, you know what? Just make sure it's a grand death, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Jason,
right.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
Grand
right.
death.
I'm dying face down in the mud, so I can't do worse than
Blaze
I'm
of
doing
glory.
right now.
Yeah. All right.
Leave
Take
it to
care,
him,
guys.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Right,
drown in
take
my
care.
own mud.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Okay. We left off of Moldov, then it goes to Ripper again.
Yeah, Ripper.
Yeah, where am I?
Ripper
Who am I
again.
going after?
Okay, you're going after someone who is, and with your rage, you're going after someone who is fairly competent. You don't realize that he's a body. So I want you to go ahead and fight him. That's all you're seeing is someone.
Okay, but like this is somebody that's focused on me right now.
Well, he will be in a second. Whenever you
He will.
get there.
All right. That's yeah.
So
That's
this
enough.
person is standing there. You don't really take into account whether he's engaged with somebody else.
Yeah, I don't.
Standing there
Yeah, I
looking
don't
at
know if he's whatever, but yeah. So I'm pretty much just rushing at him. I'm gonna pretty much go shield first and just kind of hold my sword back and kind of go at him and hope to
you. Okay.
bash him in with the
Now,
shield.
just roll your luck for me for
That's an 11 plus
11.
1, 12.
Okay. All right. Well, this does something. You get there. I want you to roll this for the fight now. Okay. So.
That's a 6 plus 4 is 10.
Okay. Now, what do you do to this individual?
Well,
Now
I
I'm
guess
saying he's
I'm
totally
gonna-
caught off guard by this. Okay.
I'm assuming you're gonna let me kill him. So like first things first, rushing at him with the shield, I kind of knock him off balance, and I'm gonna say he kind of like half catches himself and spins around to see me there with the sword just in time for the sword to come down on him.
Okay. And you'll see his hands spin around, and he's got a sword in his hand, and the buckler was knocked loose, and
Yeah.
you cleave into him, and his sword goes flying out of his hand as he falls backwards, and it falls into the mud and drips. Goes into it. He's trying to breathe in, and it's like he's got a sucking chest wound, and the mud is going
I
into
put
it right
just
now.
a huge gash diagonally across his chest.
Yeah, and his lungs
torso.
opened up, and whatever. He's expiring.
Yeah, his guts are spilling out a little bit.
Yeah. So that's what's happening there, and you can decide
And
where
then,
you want to go next.
as he's hitting the ground, I just like scream up at the sky and then like try to find someone else.
Okay, and you will, trust me.
Somebody take me home and rush off.
Go ahead, Halfman.
So-
Let's see what's up.
At this point, I'm going to trust the luck, I think, and in a way, fake my death.
Oh,
Stop resisting.
Okay.
And just
All right.
lay there in the mud, kind of,
Roll that luck,
I
brother.
suppose, in a way, hoping they'll leave me be. 5 plus 1, 6.
Okay. This is they take another hit at you. They do cause damage,
Okay.
and then you hear them as the mud, even though the mud is kind of going into your ears now,
Right.
and you're laying there motionless. You feel the weapons removed and slide out, and you're just laying there, and you hear the boards creak as they run off in different directions, and still the battle like that. But the mud is gone over your ears right now.
Sure.
That was the last thing you heard, but you don't feel anything right now, and I guess you're holding your breath being under.
Right. Yeah, I'm I begin the process of slowly crawling, hopefully in a way, maybe under, some crawling to safety. My honor in question here is I'm just trying to survive at this point, right?
Okay. There's a lot of chaos in the battle. You know that. So they're not gonna,
At 16, I'm thinking I want to live to
17.
redeem myself.
Yeah. Well, you're crawling away. No, we go to.
Well, I don't even know where I'm going. Mud soaked, but I'm,
Yeah, you're blindly groping forward just to get away from.
No
whatever.
idea.
So whenever you pull up, you're gonna be hearing the thrones of battle and just
Right.
trying to get away from that den. Go ahead and play for Soft Blade.
Yep. Okay, let me pull up his character sheet. Soft Blade. Okay, yeah. So he's the Freeman like I am. All right, he's got a. Okay, and he suffered a wound, correct? At least one, or did he suffer two?
He suffered.
2, I think, didn't he?
He spun around. No, he suffered one. He got
that
One,
was
okay.
just one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the one who got
So-
hit into the thing. Yeah. Okay.
So he has just knocked one to the ground, correct?
Yeah. He said his arm went numb and he lost hold of his.
Yeah.
sword.
Normally calm and at peace. This all being his second career choice. Flashes on his wife and decides he has to embrace fully his nature, and draws his hacks up above his head and is bringing it down is to try to kill this guy in one shot. Of course, he may not be able to, but he's now thinking of his wife back home.
Okay. Go ahead.
Right?
Go ahead
Or
and
actually,
roll
she
that.
may have come on the trip. I can't remember if he said his wife came with him.
Yeah, he
I
may
don't know
be
if
in
he's-
protective mode. He
Yeah,
said
but he's-
so.
but-
so.
Yeah. 10 plus 2, 12.
Okay.
As I
Nice.
bring
is-
that axe down.
Yeah, that's enough fuel to do it. Oh boy, meekly tries to blocked with his buckler, but you describe
Right.
how.
So he's now starting to feel the natural urges of his Viking heritage. It's the thing he tried to deny when he was a fishmonger.
Yeah, for the first time, that death rattle, is music to his ears. So, yeah, he does that. He's grimacing, and he can decide what to do next. I don't know if he's going to be roll. Well, the way you describe that, roll mind right now on him.
9 with a +1 9.
Okay, he's got.
I can't roll this high for me. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. He's got this clarity of mind when he turns around and he looks at the field of battle, and so he can see where tactically he needs to be.
Okay.
To turn this tide, you know what I mean? And it almost like gets a whole preview of the count of men to where he's at, where he needs to go, and so he's not just raiding out. So that's his mindset.
Yeah, he'll grab up his shield, reset himself with his axe, hammer it, and then head to the most obvious victim. Next victim.
All right, you go ahead, Ripper.
Yeah, I don't know who.
Well, that's what I mean.
The
I want you
nearest
to roll.
person is.
Yeah, roll your luck is what I'm saying. Again.
Oh, that's 3.
Okay. Now I want you to roll up, and whoever you're targeting right now, go ahead and do what you're going to do. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. Second verse, same as the first.
Just
gonna make my way over to him, and
so you're stalking and hacking and slashing, and roll and find out what happens with the body. Okay. So roll the body and find out. Roll body and find out what.
Oh yeah, that's an 8 plus 2 is 10.
Okay. You come up on this individual, and you. What do you do to him? He seems
so
to be.
This time I'm like just blind fury, swinging the sword every which way while I'm running over to him, and probably clip him a couple times, as I close the distance.
In his back, too.
Yeah.
Because he was facing you kind of at an angle, mostly at his back. And so you clip it, you bite into him with some hacking motions with your axe?
Come on. Yeah, it's more just wild every which way swinging right now. So it's probably like a swing knocks his sword off to the side, then another one carves like across his shoulder, then another,
He growls.
Another hits like in between his ribs.
Yeah, while you're doing this, while you're carving him up, he howls and spins around. And you see... Okay. He howls and spins around. He's looking directly at you, and you recognize Bleakly. Maybe it's one of your own men. In shock and surprise as he sees that, and then you see as he turns around, the sword bite into his neck from the person that he was fighting, right?
Mm.
And then he spews up blood like that, and he drops down, and then he hits his knees and falls, and then behind him you see the soldier pull out the sword from his neck, and he's standing there, and he grimaces at you, and he's starting to prepare to come at you. All right, so we'll go on to the next one. Go ahead, Halfman.
So again, at this point, I've crawled a ways. I don't know how far I've gone. I can't see it all. I can breathe.
Roll your luck, and let's see what.
9 plus 1, 10.
10. Okay. Now roll your body. Let's see.
9.
9.
8 plus 1, 9.
Okay. What you did is you're covered with mud. You can't really see. You're going off of hearing what you can hear.
Mm-hmm.
When you do finally...
I'm trying to crawl away from the din of combat, the noise of combat.
Yeah, and
right.
Blindly groping. But what you do realize right now, when you clear your eyes at this point, and you've been crawling, and you've made some actual distance. Just positionally where you were, and you spin around, and you seem to be underneath a wood decking that is the corner of a building, and it was the building that you came out of.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize over the side, you see the steps going down into it. You're still down into the mud, but you see underneath there. But you hear the battle and people running around, but it looks like that nobody's targeted you. All right, so that's where you're sitting.
I'll basically exhale, with the pain of my wounds. I'll exhale and kind of take a respite, take advantage of the chance to catch my breath, evaluate where I'm at, what's going on. I'm going to stay hidden here, basically.
Okay. All right.
For now.
So you turtle up there, and we'll go over to soft blade.
Okay. So having just gone into this rage, grabbed up, found tactically my next soft blade's next victim. Again, at this point, I'm into a berserk rage. I don't know ultimately what I do. I just go into a rage, swinging and fighting the very next target that I see. So I'm kind of in a zen kind of zone, so to speak. Now at this point, I'm not really able to describe my actions as it's just to survive, to kill the next guy.
But your mindset right now, because mentally you roll to where you've got an acute lucidity about you, to where you recognize the enemy. So you can go straight in. You can even recognize between soldiery
but I'm not
and
even
peasantry.
Contemplating as I just see them and go for it. But yes, I know that I'm safe ultimately from this angle or this, and I just go 9 + 2, 11.
Okay, nice. Plus 2 is 11. All right. Well, that's what you do. You find purchase to an individual that was running across, trying to go somewhere else that didn't see you from the blind side. He was running
and I just hit them, and I just assume they're dead when I hit them. I just move on to the next target.
Yeah,
it's bow, and I just keep marching toward the next target.
Well,
I'm so in this.
He pulled up his entrails as he's going right past you. You know what I mean?
Like, did I kill this guy? Don't.
You're not even, stopping to take a tally.
Right.
But you hear him collapse behind you, almost in, just an affirmation of what you already knew. It was a foregone conclusion, and he tumbles into the mud and half onto the planks, and along with his cry, that's what you hear, and then the sigh of the mud as he's sinking in it. But you're, like you said, in a blood rage. So the next, and we swing back around to Ripper.
I have gained my confidence completely here. Our soft blade has.
He's got his first kill, and now he's got momentum.
Right.
So what are you doing, Ripper?
I guess Ripper, maybe for part of a second, realizes that he just killed one of his own, but then just kind of shrugs it off and keeps going with his slashing forward into the next person right behind. So,
friendly fire.
I'm assuming, my friendly's blood all over my face.
Okay.
Snarling at him. Yeah.
Okay, so you're the guy behind him, you're going after him, right? And sorry.
Pretty much just continuing that forward momentum. Still
so you're not even
slashing.
missing a beat. You took out one, you're taking out the next guy right there.
Yeah, like one guy falls over, this other guy behind him is just next on the list.
That's Odin's will. That friendly fire. That's Odin's will. That's his.
I sent him to Valhalla. That's all.
Yep.
Now I want you to roll. Now I'm giving you a plus for this because this is obviously this guy's trying to put 2 and 2 together. What he's just witnessing.
This is horrifically intimidating.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So he feels like he's discombobulated right now. So go ahead and roll and let's see what you get.
That's another 8.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Describe how you upend this dude.
I end him. It's a good 3 or 4 just wild slashes as I'm just rushing into this guy, and he's stumbling back as I clip him a couple times.
So you're just barrel rolling over him. You
just bum rushing into him with my sword, and then after a couple of steps of him getting clipped by it, I just kind of take it straight and run him through.
And then you use
chest.
him as planks to walk over in the mud to keep going. as you go on to the next victim. So, all right, we'll swing back around to half man.
So as I try to focus and just see where the most potential threat is, as I lay hidden here in the mud, breathing heavily, maybe starting to really feel the pain now that the adrenaline's wearing off. And I realize I don't have my axe, which was the gift from my uncle.
Yeah.
And I start to think, I don't have my the gift from my uncle, but I can't afford to die without it in hand, right? As I won't go to Valhalla. So at this point, I'm solely focused on now recovering that weapon. So I'm now kind of looking. I'm laying on my back, kind of looking down the direction I think I crawled from, hoping to see some evidence of where I was, where I was face down in the mud, where maybe I can see the axe or my shield, something I can identify to try to recover my axe.
Okay, roll your luck. Let's see what happens here.
6. 5 + 1, 6.
Okay, you see the hilt of something. You don't know if it's your sword, and it's a little ways off from you. But not so much a little bit of a crawl, but you would have to get out from underneath your covering to get it. Okay, but you do recognize it as some kind of weapon. All right.
Okay. So
if you want to make your way over there.
Yeah. So now I begin to try to get onto my feet. I have no idea, how bad I am. I don't know whether my legs will work. I'm trying to, at this point, get up onto my feet from the mud. So I can stumble toward where the axe would be.
Roll your body and let's see how you handle that.
8 + 1, 9.
8 + 1, 9, and I'm taking away your wounds too. While as far as negative.
Yeah, my wounds. I'm down to. So I'm down to. Whoops. File.
Yeah, I thought you had 3 wounds. So
no, I'm down 4. To. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm down to 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I've had 4 wounds. I'm down to 2 health.
Yeah,
out of 6.
I'm just saying I'm taking your wounds and adding them onto the target difficulty of
Sure,
that.
Yeah.
But
4. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, you do. You're weak and everything, but the mud and whatever has kind of stemmed the flow of blood coming out of your thigh as well as your back and whatever. You can't really see that, but you're covered as a mud
the healing
man.
Poultice of a Viking warrior.
Yeah, you're covered as a mud man, so you look like you're a little bit
covered in mud.
You're a little bit wild when you when you come standing out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of rise up out of the mud like a zombie, like a half dead.
Exactly.
Covered in mud.
And if you want to reach for that weapon or whatever, we can do that. Roll.
Yeah, I'm going to stumble toward it. Again, you said I see a hilt, but I don't know if it's my axe or what. But I'm stumbling toward it.
Yeah, I mean it's not that far off. There's a couple of stumbles. You just had to get out from underneath there, raise up, stumble it. You can reach down and grab it if you want to.
Okay.
All within that while all this stuff is going on.
Okay. So. And again, trying to wipe the mud from my eyes and from the weapon to see if it is the axe.
Let's see what it is. Roll your luck and let's see what you stumbled on.
2 + 1, 3.
Okay, it's a spear when you pull it out. Okay, so it just had a haft of an oak and a half on it or whatever, and it was a spear at the end of it, but crudely made. So that's what and you're standing there and almost using it as a
cane.
You could, for
like
the moment
crutch.
Where you're pulling it out and you recognize it's a spear.
And I'm searching the mud with my eyes for any evidence of my axe. Yeah.
Okay. While you're doing that, we go back to Soft Man.
Yep.
I mean, Soft Blade.
Soft Blade. Okay, Soft Blade is in this kind of tunnel vision. Zone, right? Like he's gotten to the sports zone. He's feeling his groove. He's yelling at the top of his. At this point, I'm gonna stand here among these bodies, look up at the sky, and just give a guttural, barbaric yell. As I recognize that this is
where you meant to be.
This is life or death. This is, and I'm tapping some primordial you know.
This is what I've been missing.
Right, right.
There you go.
And then I'll settle and look for the next victim. I mean, at this point,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I'm invincible, right?
Roll that.
Ripper's
At
gonna-
this point, I can't die, right?
Now roll that body, because you got to usher out this cry. I want to see how other people react around you.
Okay, that's 3 plus. His body is 1, I think. Let me double check. 3 plus 1, so 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing. But
Yeah,
maybe
but now
it's
that
kind of a
she's
whimper.
lost in the den and whatever like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Nobody takes notice. Everybody's too busy with focus on what they're gonna do. So
It's the fish. It's the cry of the fishmonger.
the fishmonger's cry. There you go. But all right.
I'm still confident, but it's pretty much a whimper.
You do that, but you do have the clarity of mind, and you do see. I did say you're. I want you to roll, because after your yell, you look down. I want you to roll and see. Use your mind.
5 plus 1. Let me double check. His mind is plus 1, so 6.
6. Okay, you come down in the same state you have, and you just see the enemy, and you want to take them out. So you can stalk off and do that after we go back to Ripper.
Yep.
Yeah, Ripper's still deep in it, still going at it.
All right, go ahead and just do me a roll with luck.
Yeah, I have to assume the crowd's. That's a nat 12.
Oh, really?
I have to assume the crowd's thinning out at this point. But
Nice.
Okay, you're stepping over this guy, pushing him down into the mud, and you see on the rise this individual. So go straight for him, and with that, describe how you dispatch this guy.
Yeah, so where I had been just hacking and slashing wildly before, as soon as I maybe step on the head of this last guy as I'm walking over him, I'm gonna point the sword forward and just rush at him with the pointy end, and just
Well, I mean,
just run him right through the
you
chest.
hit him, yeah. Okay, you run him right through the chest. He's still. This individual.
Maybe pin him to the wall behind him.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he's okay, if he's back up against the wall and you slide right through him and pin him to the wall, and he's trying to turn and get out of your grasp, but you're holding a firm grasp on him, so he can't tilt it off or move either way. And the more he does, the more he's cutting himself on the inside. He's screaming, and you're screaming obviously in his face.
Yeah. In fact, I'm matching his volume just with rage, just like almost like mocking him, screaming back into his face. Just
Right.
Yeah, his mouth is moving motionlessly, and he ends up like he's chewing cud a little bit as his eyes whiten out, and he slumps over as you're still screaming in his face, and he's just hanging there on the sword. Okay. Hanging there on the sword, and he goes slump on it, and you feel the weight, but you've already bit that sword in there, but you feel it on your end. You can still hold him up and dangle him there.
Yeah.
But what are you doing?
Yeah. Then, like, once I sense him go stiff, I kind of bring my boot up to his chest and just yank the sword out and spin around and look around.
Okay, when you
I think
look,
when
you look around,
it's probably around that
No,
point that
just
he's
go
starting
ahead.
to come down from the bloodlust a little bit and like starting to catch his breath a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you hit that brick wall. But roll your luck right now and see who notices this.
Sure. 11 plus 1.
Okay.
I'm getting all the good
Now,
rolls today.
as you turn around and as he drops, you see there seems to be several. There's a battle going on. You know, it looks about even right now as far as the amount of people out there that you can see. Well, not really to you, but you are coming down a little bit, so you can start to recognize some of your comrades as opposed to some of the you're fighting. Okay. Whenever you fell down, you notice that this guy had more of a cape, a cowl and a cape, and it had furry edges going down to the bottom. He was still armored up a little bit better than the rest, and maybe that's what snapped you out of it. You know, that recognition of the polished metals on him.
Yeah.
When he hits, and when you turn around and in your bloodlust and look, and your eyes kind of fill out, you notice one person is looking mouth agape, and it stays agape as his head's removed by one of your comrades and hits the ground.
Oh god!
It sinks in there, and then the other person starts screaming, and it's not one of your own, and it starts backing up, and there's several that's being punctured. It seems to be a massive retreat
Right.
on the enemy's part as they're getting pinned down, and some of them are making it outside the parameters of the town and over the edges and whatever, but they seem to be right now in full retreat. And Half Man, you're looking at things and you're looking for a target, and some of them are running by you. If anybody wants to get a parting shot with Half Man or a soft blade.
Yeah, Ragnvald at this point will drop to his knees in the mud and desperately swinging his hands into the mud trying to find the axe. I've dropped to my knees digging for my axe in the mud.
Okay, as
they run by, etc.
You
right?
can still see the impression of where you were, and you make your way over to it, and it doesn't take that long before you find, it's not totally buried.
Yeah, when I do, I pull it up, and the minute I recognize it, I pull it to my chest, and I kind of sit in the mud on my knees. Again, at this point, relieved I have the axe.
You're surprised at how far you made it, considering.
Right, and in serious pain at this point. I'm not even, at this point, I'm kind of oblivious to the running and the screaming and the fighting, and
all your comrades are in route. The other ones, and they're screaming halfway joyously and halfway just to intimidate and scare off the rest as they're taking. And people are dropping around you like crazy.
Right.
Now, there seems to be. Now, I want you to roll again, Ripper, as you stand there. Everybody's mouth agape.
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of the first thing Ripper does is when he sees the retreat happening is just like sword up, just shout like to the heavens, just death! And then just start like a death chant. And...
Right.
Okay, now when you're doing this, I want you to go ahead and roll... roll your mind on this, okay? I was going with Will a little bit with that yell.
It's 7. No bonus.
7. Okay. Well, that makes it's average down the line because this could have fell either way. And when you're starting this death chant, and all of them are chanting along with you, which is the positive, they're starting to scream your name.
Yeah.
Along with it. That's woven his way into the chant, right? Yeah. So they're doing that, but I want you to roll. I want you to roll again. Roll your body on this. I want your presence to be. Well, that would be your soul. Roll that. I want you to present.
That's an 8.
Okay. Now, whenever Blood Axe, you see him out the corner of your eye, and he is stalking up there to where you are. All right, and he starts banging his axe on his shield.
Yeah, gonna join in along with that.
Okay, now are you doing this? He's challenging you to.
Yeah.
They're
like
Ripper.
They're not like locking eyes on him, like matching his tempo with the bashing, and then just kind of like the adrenaline picks back up again. His breathing gets a little bit shallow, and he just kind of head down, like okay, let's go at it.
He's there with the intent. You can tell in his presence. he's not. He's somewhat reluctant, but he's not cowering down to you. And they're saying Ripper, which obviously he's got a short fuse anyway.
Yeah.
But he's standing there, and I challenge you now, here and now.
Look down at my shield. I'm going to make a moment out of this. Kind of look down at my shield hand and realize that I'm still clutching onto that ring that I pulled off that guy earlier.
Yeah.
And so, like, I open my hand and see it, and then I take that ring and, like, slide it onto my finger, and then look back up at Blood Axe and smile at him and say, "Not much of a challenge."
Okay, so you're telling him that?
Yeah.
He's not much of a challenge. Okay. Now what he does is he goes into a rage to match your own as far as that.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing, Half Man, when you're sitting there rocking with your axe, you found that.
Right.
And Ripper, and you look up, obviously. Well, I don't want to narrate your side, but
I'm
see
completely covered in mud. Yeah.
Yeah, you would see this transpire as they're yelling Ripper.
Yeah,
Ripper.
I really can't see over probably everybody's encircled Ripper, right? I might see Tugga break into the crowd as he's challenging, but I really can't see what they're doing, but I know they're chanting Ripper.
Right.
I can imagine. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, at this point, I'm so wounded and in such pain, I can't quite fathom how it matters. Half Man is broken right now, right? So he's thinking, I'm just fortunate enough to be here with this axe. So if I die, I won't die without my weapon. But I can't even imagine. I'm almost on the verge of passing out, so to speak, right?
Yeah, he's quarter man now.
Yeah, quarter man.
Okay. He locks eyes with you, and again, he's saying, now if you want to play Soft Blade too, when Soft Blade...
Soft Blade joins as he realizes they routed, he chased some guys, for 25 yards and in a roar, and then as he realized they won and started hearing the chanting behind him, he's coming back up from the village to where they're all around Ripper, and he's watching. He joins into the circle. He didn't see what Ripper did, so he's not necessarily chanting Ripper. I mean, he's watching to see what's happened, but he doesn't. He might not have seen what happened. So
it dies down once they realize what Blood Axe has. Is making a challenge, and you can almost hear what you do hear though is the cawing of crows.
Okay.
And as it gets quiet, and then they expect it to lock down, and that is what is going on right now. He is at you right now, full bore.
Yeah.
So I want you to roll dice and see which way this falls, and let me know what you're doing.
Just did. This is a combat roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a 7 plus 4.
Okay. He is. He's coming down on you with a swing, and what happens when you hit him? And it's not going to be when
I basically just go with the shield and just knock the sword over to the side and kind of keep the momentum and swing the same.
Okay, you bite into him in his shoulder area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, aiming for like upper arm, shoulder, neck area.
Okay. He screams.
Kind of trying to swing in like over the shield, I guess.
He screams in anger and then repositions himself and comes at you again. Roll again. Let's see what happens.
Sure. 9 plus 4.
Okay.
I need to get a new virtual dice thing.
No.
Nice.
No. Okay.
Crazy.
Now he comes at you again. He's a little bit in too much rage, but what happens again? What happens? As far as where do you hit him?
Where?
Yeah, you want that.
So he's he's coming at me, but he's still kind of like staggering sideways from where I knocked his sword over to the side. So maybe he's swinging at me sideways to like reposition.
Okay.
And I kind of just catch that with my sword swing, and then like in the same motion, like back the pommel of the sword into his face, and just kind of
Okay.
just shove his head back away.
Do it again. Roll again. Let's see what.
Right.
At this point, Ragnvald's now, as they're cheering, and
Yeah.
he's coming. It's almost like his Ripper. He hears the cheers every time there's a strike against Tugga. Ragnvald gets one foot under him and starts to stand, and then he hears a cheer, and Ragnvald gets the other foot up and under him, and now is standing upright, axe hanging at his side, as he starts to stumble toward the ruckus. He wants to see what they're cheering about.
Yeah.
So Ragnvald's now kind of stumbling toward the fray.
Yeah. There's there's a fair amount of your comrades still alive, the ones that Ripper didn't kill.
Okay.
I only hit one.
I know
that was a natural 12, by the way.
Yeah, there was some that fell. Nice. I know. That's what. Yeah. Anyway, roll it as you going up, and then I suppose that soft blade is.
He's still in the circle, just watching the fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ripper. Yeah. Roll again. Rip a good one.
Roll again.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's got several wounds.
Oh, I know, but I just did roll again.
Yeah, he rolled a nat 12, but I was describing.
I thought he was referencing back to an earlier time.
Oh no.
Oh, I killed the other. No, I mean just now that was a 12 plus my 4.
Yeah, and I was describing Ragnvald. That's why.
Okay,
yeah.
Good grief. All right, go ahead and describe what you do to him.
Yeah, so I'm so like he staggers back away when I clock him in the nose, and he kind of like shakes. Like blood drip is splattering away as he shakes his head and tries to lock back onto me, but I'm rushing at him again, like already on him, coming down with the sword.
Okay. Now he's dropped his axe, and it looks like when you hit it, it broke his nose. And he's staggering about like he's totally like he's having vertigo. His inner balance is all
concussed.
Yeah, concussed. So that's Anyway, go ahead. Yeah. And so he looks stunned. Even this, right? Well, you're in the bloodlust, but nevertheless, roll one time.
Yeah. So I think in the let me roll. It's another 9.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're taking him down, he hits his knees.
So I think in that moment when I'm like going to swing at him and I see him drop to his knees, I think I opt instead to just bring my knee up into his face and just knee him back so that he sprawls back on the ground.
Okay, his head flies back, and he's like a big timber when he falls backwards and hits the ground, and his axe right beside his axe, and then he rolls over, and you can hear him hum. Now there is blood coming out of him, and he's laying there. A cheer wells up, and then the Ripper starts being repeated, and there's where we will go ahead and wrap it up. But that's it. Whether you let him live or die, it looks like he's on the verge of death anyway.
Yeah.
He's there, but there's a strong allegiance to you right now as far as that. He fell right down beside Lord Dredgewater.
Yeah, and I kind of stumble in and kind of fight my way through the crowd, just in time to just see Ripa standing in the middle, celebrating. I didn't see exactly what happened. Right?
Yeah.
But I could get there in time to see the results. Tugga laying on his back and Ripa standing in the center of this crowd.
Yeah. So that's where we got it. And then as far as wherever y'all would pick up, but this looks like that clan has a new New top dog.
Nice.
As there should be.
Nice. You're only on top
Yeah.
as long as you're on top. That's Tuggy should have known that. You're only on top as long as you're on top.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, he just did the same thing. Sorry.
Yep.
He should have saw it coming.
Exactly. Cool. Very good.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Devastating with those final blows or whatever. You said nat 12.
Yeah, right.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But
yeah.
That was huge.
so you took him down. You know, that factored in one.
Pretty handily beat him down.
Yeah, you kind of made made a mockery of it at that point because he's a big old boy. But
So how do you think the D12 works?
I think.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was gonna say I don't think it mattered as much. I was kind of rolling a stacked dice thing.
Yeah.
But
dealt with him with a +4 and you using a D12. That's a third.
Yeah,
that was huge. Like I could still.
Did you feel that skewed it? I mean, even if he was rolling 6s, he would have gotten 10s.
Well, that lets me know the target difficulty level is going to have to still expand. That's what my big question was. You know, where we needed to go with it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the danger because if we just adjust the target level to his competency, then it would be pointless for him to be competent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's this good, then he needs to be this good.
That's a balancing act too.
Yeah.
You want to. You want to.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that if you were to adjust up the target level just because he was good, it would be like scaling his difficulty, which wouldn't be cool to his character, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm asking. Do you think the D20 can handle the +4? Because this is a 3 repute character, first a Jin, right?
Yeah. Already stacking the.
Yeah, which is fine. Again,
when you add 3, that's 25% more. You know that you're adding on to your chances. But I mean, if you're going up against during this whole thing, I kept the target difficulty level within the 12. You know, so I didn't ever go above like 11. Whatever I had in my mind. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't go up higher, which obviously might need to be done. But then again, like he said, he was just rolling a series of high rolls.
Now, and you were and the other question you were asking, like pre-rolls. Were you using those luck checks and those mind checks to set the difficulty, or what were you doing?
No. Well, I mean, the luck check with him in particular was to find out if he was going to be, because he was in a blood rage, and his mind.
If I was going to friendly fire,
recognizing who was this, so he could have just been berserking.
So that didn't affect the next roll.
No.
Okay.
I had the next rolls rated at.
I was just curious how you were doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. If there were a soldier, I would have them around 9. If there were, you know what I mean, a lesser around 7 or whatever.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And it depended on the situation. Like when when Justin turned around and turned his back to him, he hit with a 7 to peasant.
Right.
Which actually that could have been readjusted down because he had 2.
I would assume when we were outnumbered, we were definitely facing a higher combat rate.
higher difficulty.
Yeah, because we were outnumbered.
I made a decision at that point. I kept it with that he hit him, but he was at extreme disadvantage the next time, which I boosted it up to be able to hit him again. As far as the soldier or whatever. So it's like, what do you want to do? He would have to spin around and he would attack. Even attack the soldier, which is going to be a more difficult procedure. Right. But even at that, like in one things I noticed, like when you give the player the narrative lead, and I haven't played in a while too. You have to get in the gist of yielding to the player's narration instead of me taking over and saying this is what happens, right?
Sure.
Which are all prone to do. So I have to say shut up and let him take over. But there's a tendency to say like you could say he loses his sword, or he loses, like he said, his arm went numb and he loses his sword. But see, that's really that level of what they can do is dependent upon how successful they are in a way. You know what I mean? Like if it's a negative, like if it was a critical fail on the or critical success for him, then he could narrate that he lost his sword. You know, you add those little things on
Yeah,
top
and I mean, part of the goal with the declarative play, you know, the declarative player agency. If he narrates, ultimately I would see that as a disarm. So if he's successful, he disarms him.
Yeah,
because that sounded like he was narrating that he disarmed him. So on a positive roll, it's a disarm. If it's like a critical, I would give it a wound and a disarm.
Yeah, you're right.
See?
You're right. Yeah, you could break.
I'm just saying that's how, because I don't mind how they narrate. Now, if somebody narrates, they kill him in one shot.
Yeah, I should.
They don't know the health of the. Yeah, they don't know the health of the enemy.
For most of that session, there was like we were all kind of in the habit of just declaring like our intention, and then
exactly, which is
the die determine whether that succeeds. But then there was that fight at the end where it was actually just roll combat, and then decide how you want that winning roll to go, which was interesting because I didn't actually know how far I could go with my description. You know,
right? Yeah, because you don't know how much.
For like,
right?
Oh, I'm just gonna bust his nose because I can't kill him yet. But...
Right? Yeah, because you don't know how much health he has. Right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's the way the game's designed. It's a one-roll system, so whoever wins the roll narrates the outcome.
Right.
So when there's a death, like if you had killed him on the third shot, like I guess you did, third shot, you ultimately finished him.
Yeah.
Right. It worked fine. I thought it worked fine. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked, but I think partly it worked because I didn't just immediately jump into describing a killing blow because there wasn't really any indicator that this was going to be different from the other fights, so I just had to make that assumption myself.
Yeah, exactly. What do we call it? We call it premature imaginings. You didn't do any premature imaginings that you killed him.
So like in that first round,
you have to wait for the GM to say you've killed him. Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Which I don't know if we can get away from. I mean, because the GM still has the control, knows whether somebody.
There's always going to be that assumption there, but I think if you open with like, oh, this is going to be a multi-round fight or whatever, then you can nip that in the bud.
Right. Yeah, and that's. But even there, I mean, I think most players, they wouldn't assume that they're killing them until they're told they killed them. So I think it works fine, right?
I think most of the time that's right, but like for
you know, in a fight,
raid,
you could narrate.
For most of that raid, we were killing people in one go.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think so because they were basically peasants.
That gets a little bit into like 4E style combat there, where you're just
minions.
taking out grunts.
Yeah,
but like
basically they're minions,
but
so
like
you can kill them in one shot. Yeah.
And that kind of comes down to like GM description. Like if the GM's really flourishing and using like descriptors and like you can tell as a player this is a bigger thing. But
exactly. It's epic, and we're a little better than the peasant people, so they were easy kills, so to speak. Right. So my only question with the D12 is, so let's say we have your max body can be 4. Let's say you have excellent sword, excellent shield, excellent armor. That's 6. So that would be a plus 10 combat. That would be a combat rating of 10. That's the max it could ever be in our game, unless they had an enchanted weapon as well. That might add another plus 1. So you could conceivably have, and then you could gain advantages from something. So we're talking about on the D12, it's conceivable at the highest repute in our game, guys can have plus 10 added to that combat rating, or spell casting, or so. Yeah, we just have we have to decide.
Have a plus 10.
So we're going to have to reevaluate the math to decide how many pluses you could accumulate, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll have to be where you can still go over, and I stated that. I think that was one of the questions I had, how well it would work within just the confines of the D12 before you'd have to start going like difficulties of 13, 14, 15, which is still plausible because if you get a plus 4 or plus 6 or whatever, like that, you can still roll a 11 and add your 6 to it and have a 17, so you can still do it.
Yeah. But now we're talking about, we'd be talking about tier-based gaming then. We'd be talking about having tiers based on repute. So if there's 3 players that are repute 7 and we're starting to play with numbers that are plus 6, plus 7, we're going to have tier-based gaming where all those difficulties are going to be ramped up for a relative difficulty.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think anything outside of that D12 and you start going up, it's a different tier. It's more like inside the D12 is more like once you start adding modifiers on, that's something that can be kind of handled within a moderate area and can be handled by pretty much anybody at the start, like first level.
Right. That's what I mean.
Not that we level up, but you know what I'm saying.
No, but we're repute 3. So, for instance, I would assume Ripa scored a repute point for this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, because everybody witnessed it, he brought down Tugga. He was already held as, like the victor of the battle. He routed the enemy. So that's a repute point. I would have given him a repute point, and then he can spend that immediately on any of his attribute scores.
Yeah.
So he's already going to be repute 4. He's now taking Tugga's spot, right? So that's clearly he should be repute, right? They may even re-nickname him Tugga Killer or who knows, right? But that's all fiction. But so he can now add to his body. He can have a body +3, which gives him with his weapons.
I can have the prestige for leading the Raiders now. Yeah.
Yeah, or you can put it on your prestige. Exactly, right. So that's cool. So we're just gonna have to evaluate kind of how weapons or gear, how much weapons and gear can be a bonus.
Yeah.
Right. I think originally we had it. I think the original game we had it. If you had a poor weapon, it was a negative. A poor gear was a negative effect, but you have to have gear to do something. So, for instance, I want to climb the mountain, but I have a poor rope. I still need the rope to climb, but it's actually kind of a hindrance. It's a crappy rope. I can't trust it. It's slowing me down. It's a -1. If I have a good rope, it's 0. If I have an excellent rope, it's a +1. So we go back to that original -1, 0, +1 for gear instead of 0, +1, +2.
Yeah, I think
if that makes sense.
No, I think so. We definitely need.
I think so because with that math, you could only get 3 extra points off your gear, and then your +4 for the attribute. So you'd be maxing out.
Yeah, because the max your body can ever be is 4. And then you could have +3 gear. That's a +7. So that doesn't skew the D12 too much, and we can still have higher difficulty levels. What would be nigh impossible with the D12 right now?
Well, see, even with the 7, and if you roll a 12, you can still hit a 19.
Right.
So, I mean, that I knew that those could go outside of there.
Sure.
That's why I was thinking. Like I said, the D12 inside of that is more plausible. Even though, see, anything can swing in this game like crazy is like, and it's almost like real life. Like luck plays. Like with you were getting beat down. You had to crawl away for your life.
Sure. Yeah.
Because of 3 bad rolls. But if he had 5 good rolls, he could take out.
No, I love it. I'm not.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I'm just trying to, because when I sit down to start making edits to the book, I need to start thinking about how we regrade the weapons, and we've got to regrade some of that.
Well, that's a lot of what
in the rule book we got to make it clear that nigh impossible. Do we keep those nigh impossible as 19 because it can still be achieved?
Yeah,
but a 12 is a critical. So no matter what, you're always going to be able to succeed with a 12.
Yeah.
Even for the most hopeless situation, but you got to roll a nat 12, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's cool. So you can push the difficulty up because a nat 12 can still get it done, even if your character
it just takes a bigger person to do it.
Bingo. Yeah. So I'm just trying to make sure we're bounded in a certain range of numbers. That's right. I think it works.
Yeah. It still allows us to go without in almost 19
right
to in first in my mind I was thinking you're probably going to range from 3 to 18 right. I didn't really sit down and do hard math
and on that critical hit against me or my critical failure, I mean when I made the critical failure in the mud, you could have actually taken you could have taken a point off my actual body.
Yeah, exactly,
because my spine could have been damaged or some kind of thing that directly affected my body. It would take a long time to heal. And then my health would have gone down with that, of course, for the fight. So critical wounds they could affect our mind or
It's really very
you don't have to, but that's the cool thing.
Yeah.
we'll want to make sure we define in the book so people don't feel like the GM screws them when they take it off their body, right, for a critical failure on a combat or something. We just got to make sure in the book the GM has that knowledge and the players understand the GM could choose to make it weapons, gear, or a body injury.
It's very flexible, even the way that the players get to narrate and what, like when you said you got up under that thing, you said I'm praying for, you know, or just trying to get there. I was like, is he going to make a prayer? You know what I mean? To own or whatever.
In narration, in the narrative telling of it, the vision of him trying to crawl away to safety, no matter how I narrate that, the goal was to defend myself. It was to avoid combat. So all that mattered was I was mechanically saying I'm getting out of combat.
Yeah.
But I narrate it by saying I'm crawling away, etc. Now, if I critically fell that, you could say, dude, some dude sees you try to crawl away, comes over and drives a spear in your back. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do mechanically when I'm rolling the die is to just get out of combat safely.
Yeah.
So it works perfectly. But instead of saying, all right, Dale, I want to escape, I want to flee combat, I just narrated I was trying to crawl to safety. But I think in book, we're going to want to make it clear, flee. If somebody wants to flee, they could just say to the GM, I'm trying to get out of here, right? So there's no confusion. The GM's not confused as to what you're trying to.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot to me, like when you said you got up and you cried or whatever like that, I could do any range. It's how it falls on me and the way you say it. Like,
that's
are you trying to, like when I'm picturing you raising yourself out of the mud, the evocative aspects of your narrative, I'm saying like he's screaming, is this going to have a potential to scare them? Like, what the crap? Or either, give you like some kind of call out to your God to say, I'm getting up, and then you get kind of supernatural adrenaline rush.
Well, what I was doing
with the body, you know,
I was cueing his successful rolls as, his success was so good it affected my ability to get up.
Yeah.
I was inspired by them cheering Ripa's. I couldn't see it, but I could hear my colleagues cheering Ripa. So when he was hitting 9s and 10s and 12s, I just saw that as that's going to inspire my character to get up, right?
Yeah, and one thing I was doing with him, I was decreasing, you know what I mean, for his wounds, I was doing a mental decrease on that, on the target level. But, I was out of the playtest trying to keep within the spectrum of, like, I didn't go over 11, which I could have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I could have been like 14.
Yeah.
But then, and that shows you when Jorian, if he's got, you got 4 plus 4, and then with your weapons, and that's a 6, and then you're adding this, it's not going to be overly hard for you to get that, to beat it out. That's
and it shouldn't be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with success.
No, it's not. I'm just saying you need a little,
there was almost something wrong with success there.
It was like
because I didn't really see us outgunned or outnumbered, or I didn't feel like we were in over our heads, right?
Yeah, but like I did so well in that fight. I don't think I had a single bad roll in that fight. But I did so well that like the big boss was intimidated by me.
Right, that's right.
I have to put him down.
But that's part of why, and that's dice. I love dice because dice dictate the narration, right? Dice dictate and they're going to dictate who wins and loses. So what's cool about, and then again, because of that, that's repute. I mean, that's why we score repute.
You affect everybody.
It's not just something you did, but the dice. I mean, it was a dominant performance against. You know what I mean? So there's a definite repute score that you would score, right? I mean, and we'd all witness it, and there would be no challengers to you, I would assume, for any period of time. Unless a player character tried to challenge you, right? Yeah, but what that would do is it would also place you as the clear-cut leader of this band. Now, the only people who would challenge you would be other player characters, right?
Right.
At this point, unless something happened to alter your honor or something. But that's the great thing about the narrative. I mean, that's what I said. What's cool about the system and the flexibility of it is this becomes in a way not only our campaign, our characters, our story, but it becomes our game system for this group, this culture of play in a way, right? So, right, that's what's neat about it. It's that flexible.
Yeah, it's really flexible. Go ahead, Joe.
It's an interesting thing about the setting too, is that like for any group of players, like an event like this kind of informs the world, so that you can bring that into later stuff.
Right. Oh, it's huge.
Like
I mean, let's say we're campaigning. You're leading the. At some point, I mean, you're the guy that's going to be telling us where we're going. We're going to go raid. We're going to get in the boat. We're going to go raid this thing, and at some point, if we stay alive and the campaign evolves, you're going home, and you're gonna meet the leader of our chieftain of our village as the captain of our boat, right? So I mean, it's infinite, as opposed to traditional D&D where you're all in a party and you all level up, and eventually somebody's level 10 and they're building a castle, and somebody else is building a tower and they're becoming a wizard, and that can all happen, but it's all relative in our game. This can, I mean, already Jory as a Repute 3 starter character is already starting to build his legend, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to basic D&D or basic fantasy.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get to level 12 before we're actually seeing you as
where like 10th level becomes a general or whatever.
But here's the beautiful thing about it. The next big raid, you could be reduced to face down in the mud, fighting for your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How quickly your legend can go, whoop, whoop. Right?
I think there's a little bit more incentive to protect your character. Like if you survive past a session or two, then like you have a legacy that you're building. So.
Right. And now the narration is different for you. When Del as a presenter addresses you, he's addressing you as kind of the
like he's
the
not
tribal
telling the
leader.
Party, like
he's basically saying
he's not telling the party what the leader's doing. He's asking.
Exactly. That's what I was wanting to point out. This was a little bit. This was another thing I was kind of testing to decide, because I knew that a Viking boat, if I was going to put you on a situation, it can hold 50 to 100 people.
Right.
You're not going to be you're not going to be leading this party unless we had a character where you say you're leading your party. But I didn't necessarily say that. But I wanted to find out how it would work, and it ended up being me talking in character position, directing where y'all want to go as far as y'all being a party, and that would probably maybe slow down things. Like it'd be totally different if Ripper was over the thing and y'all was to cohorts and where are we going to go? What are we going to do? So you have more control over your destiny. Right. Where this right here, you're at the whims of somebody else's, which is to me.
You're at this point. You felt compelled to be. You couldn't make one of us the captain of the Viking ship. So you were put in a position to guide us, so to speak.
Yeah, and then
which is fine. Yeah.
Two conflicting, personalities.
Right.
Were being contested. One kind of guy that had been old, and another guy that was wanting to take over, but he had his
and if I wasn't playing a 16-year-old Dane on his first Viking, and I was playing a mature soldier, I might have taken a side, and that would have complicated the first scene. Yeah. When you described that, in character, I was thinking, oh shit, we don't have a leader. But I was too young to stand up and basically take a side. So I had to, which is I'm in character. I'm trying to play it like a 16-year-old kid on his first raid would do. I can't. I have no right to speak up here. But let's say veteran Ripa could have stood up and said, "Get your shit together. Where are we headed?" Kind of thing, right? Yeah. If you wanted to. Yeah. So you gave us an opportunity for that in the first scene where you were letting us know they were at odds.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I could have even tried at 16 with a prestige of 1 and my uncles and my father. For my backstory, I could have attempted to, influence these two.
Wouldn't have anyway, because most of those guys, like I said, they were just farmers or, like you said, fishers.
There was plenty of opportunity for us to
either
take over this, right?
But it's more like real life, because you get, if you're a soldier in the army, say, and your sergeant says go over there and do that, you may think, no, this is stupid, but you got to obey orders.
Right.
Are you going to follow along with it? Are you going to become part of a mutiny? Or are you going to go here or there? So
or it ends up with me as a 16-year-old kid known as Half Man being chastised by and told I'm going to die by skull splitter, and I'll have to turn my back, right? Yeah. But the point is, we had an option to engage in that narrative if we wanted to.
Yeah. Right? It was just unusual from that take. I didn't know how that was
hard for you. I think that's harder for you.
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
Much
it
harder
goes
for you.
against the even though it fits the situation in real life of
Yeah.
how people get in there.
Yeah.
Normally in the game, you have more direct control over where you're going. You know, and you
Yeah.
say if you want to have an inaugural game like this, and then Jordan gets in the part where he's playing a character who can lead, then decisions are being made by somebody that you feel more control over your destiny. Or we're going to go here. We're going to go down to get some
Well, then
slaves
he
take them
and
here.
then Jory can communicate with the other players as as comrades or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
you would do in a traditional adventure group, but he would ultimately have the decision, right?
But
I'm just saying for you, it was a tough start for you because you're trying to multiple characters, trying to it's just hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to do. Yeah.
And I think
But
you
you
had
did
the
great.
you had
You
the
did
loose
brilliant.
and the objective of us going on a raid and
Right.
fighting and whatever, but like
Yeah.
it started a little bit before that, and I think that's where
Right.
setting the scene was a little bit hard.
Yeah, it was but it was fine. You did great. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, coming in from work so late and I sat down, I was writing the random seeds out as the computer was booting up.
How many did you roll?
I did 26. I did one for C and one for, I did the numbers.
No, but I mean in session, how many did you roll?
Oh, I
that
rolled
came
multiple. I had to roll because some of them were repeats. But I rolled.
So the leak, I'm assuming the leak in the boat was a seed.
Yeah, that was a seed. The town was a seed.
The woman,
sea
the woman in
hag
the,
was one.
the woman, the witch was one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Bog Hag, and then I had
Yeah,
woman
that's
and
awesome.
the woman.
Yeah.
Like just seeing women on the side of the thing. Well, I rolled that after the Bog Hag.
Yeah.
But I tied them into it.
Sure.
And, so there was a lot of different things. Like the town was that,
Right.
and the monastery was a roll, and
Okay,
whatever. So I was
okay.
like, well, they're situated there, right beside each other.
So they were all coming from the table.
They were all centralized, because I
Sweet.
just did a
Sweet.
2d12, but what I
Sweet.
did was two down to 12, and then on either side of it, I had one for water occurrences and one for
Nice.
on land.
Nice. Yeah.
So
So you didn't have to prep anything except your seeds.
yeah, I just made it up as I
Yeah.
went along, But like you're saying, it's hard to handle that, going from the perspective of like the characters are subordinate to
Yeah.
the guys that I'm trying to lead them, and I was having to roll that too, going,
Yeah.
where the crap are
Yeah.
they going? That's why I was like, it's going to
That's what I
come
said. It was I thought when you started, I thought, shit, he's got to kind of lead the party and be the GM.
And I was leaving it up to who was going to win arguments between Blood
gonna be
Axe
tough.
and
All right.
Skull.
Well, and that's
Splitter.
why I was tempted on that opening scene when you described that they were arguing about where they were going to go, and I think that's why Justin said, "Is this a fight just started, or has they been fighting like this since we left?" I think we were trying to find a way to kind of crack into that narrative and maybe sway one side or the other. But I felt that as a 16-year-old kid on his first adventure, there was no way in hell I could stick my head in there.
No,
right? So-
I knew.
Yeah, I think none of our characters were really willing
right,
to.
and that's fine. But it
do
just
that.
made it. We just couldn't help Dell.
Yeah,
If
I
that
know.
makes
That's
sense.
what I had to default
It's like I
to.
wanted to help him, but
I had
the
to
engine
default
just
to
kind of
that
seized up.
because in my mind I was like, well, they can go anywhere. They can go get slaves, or they can go down to the
Yeah.
continent, or they can go to here. It's up
Yeah.
to them, right? I was saying that on one respect. It's up to
Right.
y'all. But then I put
Yeah.
you in a situation where you're subordinate to somebody else, and then I had
Yeah.
to go. I didn't think about originally using those two guys. Literally just off
Yeah.
the job. I wasn't thinking about
Sure.
any of that stuff. And I
But
said, these two
almost
characters.
all fantasy gaming, you're subordinate to somebody else because you're either somebody's giving you a mission or asking you to do something, or well, not always, but I mean the characters are then free as a group to decide what they're going to do. But I thought, wow, for me to stay in character, I couldn't do it. I couldn't say Skull Splitter, you're a jackass. You can't. I could have, but it would have felt totally out of character.
Yeah, I know. I mean, because at any point
You know?
in time, I was rolling different stuff on my own
Yeah.
to find out reactions. And like when I rolled a 12 to find out if it was in your favor, if you were going to be fighting. That happened to be a
Right.
Washburn. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He was going to take him out. I was like, oh my God, he's hit the jackpot here when he
Right.
hit the dude. So
Right.
when you said you pin him to the door, I'm like, that's him.
So we were in Dredgewater.
yeah. So
Oh,
when
I
you-
didn't know that.
When you did, that's what you was on the planks and everybody was in the mud and everybody run up.
Oh,
to
I
the-
never, it never dawned on me that was Dredgewater. I'm thinking that's just England, man. Everything's a mud hole.
Everything's
Yeah.
mud there. See, I thought we were still like on the far
On the
north.
coast. Yeah, I was
Over,
thinking we
yeah.
were on the coast. Yeah,
Like
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
know.
think
I
we had
just
gone
kinda-
river or anything.
Yeah.
It's my
that's
math.
funny. I
Sorry,
didn't
I
pick
switched
that up.
around.
So
So who
you
was
just
that?
said it.
I didn't.
So who was that like commander type that I killed?
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly. Well, that was Lord Washburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was the Lord
sorry.
of
That's why
Dredgewater.
he had it all finery. You know, I was rolling to
Yeah.
find out if they could watch y'all, you know, do what you were doing in the town and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because you wasn't obviously prepping for a siege or whatever, like you
No.
were in there.
Uh-uh.
So they broke and came out, but I had to roll to find out their morale.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So a lot of that was on multiple levels of how are they reacting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can they, you know?
Yeah. But this is why we play test, because I mean, here's an example of a game system where we're basically saying you could tear this game system out of Dredgewater, out of England, and use it for 2061 or you know, some world you've invented. Okay, fine, some fantasy world you've invented. But this is why we play test. So here's an example of finding out how difficult is it for the GM when we're couched in this particular situation as Vikings on a raiding party. You know, how does that set up the characters and set up the GM for the naive narrator role, right? Which you're still in, but you're forced in a way to not be naive when you're the commander of the ship.
Exactly. That was what was.
So you're
interesting to me.
naive, but you can't afford to be naive at that point, right?
In a way, it felt like a sabotage, but it
Right.
also felt like we need to discern this because
Right.
this is real life. These people could be,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
a subordinate to somebody else.
Yep.
And I didn't want to know what was happening. That's why I was rolling. And I
Right.
just made
Right.
two contested
And that's what-
individuals.
Yeah, and that's part of why our prestige score exists. So any character in the group with a prestige score, it would change their relationship to that leader. For instance, we start in Dredgewater, and let's say Kevin makes a priest, and he's a 2 prestige. As a naive narrator, I have to remember that Kevin's character, even though he's a repute 3 beginner, that 2 prestige has to be. I have to recognize his weight in the community to the king or to the Lord Washburn or to. So you would have to acknowledge that at some point Kevin's character is already known around the village and has maybe a little more prestige, even if he has no more power, no more authority, right? So in this situation, you were kind of screwed because I don't think anybody in the party but me had 1 prestige, which really isn't a big deal. Because if somebody in the ship had a 3 prestige, you could have made them kind of the right-hand man of Tugga.
Exactly. There would have been somebody.
Right,
who
and
was
then you
leading
could
the party.
directly, like right now, Ripa. So let's say, for instance, if for some reason Tugga didn't challenge him and stayed commander, he would become by default kind of the. But if he put that point in his prestige, you would have to honor him as the NPC leader, as the right hand man of this Viking ship. Because if he put it in prestige, if he didn't put it in prestige. Okay, he got a repute point for helping sway the battle. He got a repute point for killing Dredgewater.
Yeah.
But he put it in body. He's still kind of the big dumb ox.
Exactly.
Right? But because he beat Tugga, he's the leader, period. Prestige or no. But now if he puts that point in prestige, the world will start to recognize who he is, not just us on the ship, right?
Yeah, exactly. He will hold his presence will be there whenever he
because the prestige is the actual working mechanism of that makes that an actual mechanical piece of the game, right?
Because when you're following, if you want to go to a town like the Vikings used to get the Donegal, you know, they would get paid off not to attack the town and then say, "Well, we're going to attack this one over here."
Yeah.
You know, you just paid us, and we're going to make money over here still. Without even wasting time.
Right.
So, but you having to deal with that, and dignitaries from towns or whatever, that prestige matters. And
that's why in the book we make it clear: if you want to have influence, you better put a point in prestige. If you don't, you're a low class kind of citizen, right? I mean, you can be a thief and you can be an outlaw and you can be but you're not going to have a big effect on the culture of the town. Through dialogue or it'd be through ultimately action. You can become a thief, you can become a dangerous killer, et cetera, and that's why we make it clear the prestige point. We got to be very clear that empowers players to have a little more impact socially in the world, right?
Yeah, without that, even when you take over, they may be intimidated by you, but they're not going to respect your presence. They could see you as a
and they would still send the king down to remove this peasant war chief, because basically you'd be
Exactly.
seen as an outlaw war chief. The king would send down a platoon to,
Yeah.
because you don't even own
You
land.
ain't getting no
You're
weight.
you're not a landowner. You're an outlaw, right?
Yeah, you ain't getting no weight about you. You know, you're doing things through intimidation, so
Right.
it does account for something. You just through dumb luck, or
Right.
not dumb luck, got in that position from killing Tugga.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
so-
Well, in this situation, he's Ripa is our leader. He's the commander of the ship. He's going to be, but let's say he has to negotiate. You know, like
Yeah,
the one I did where you guys ended up going off to negotiate with the head Viking.
Yeah.
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 He might obviously would affect his roles as he narrate whether he was intimidating your guys. You know, think about Ripa's character, that Viking that was in that negotiation with you, David, and Todd, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
With that prestige of one would be difficult for that Viking to affect
Garner
the
any
difficult
respect.
to affect
Yeah.
the difficulty level,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So it'll be a lot easier for him to intimidate by sheer presence as his prestige climbs.
Yeah. Oh, when he walks
Right.
into a room, people know it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They know.
So at some point, Ripa, his physical part may not. He whooped Tugga's butt, but at some point he puts that in prestige. He becomes renowned in the region. He becomes, I'm thinking of the last kingdom when Ubba, is it Ugga? Is it Ubba that shows up in the last kingdom? And Uhtred has to face him on the battlefield, but everybody heard his name and were terrified of him before we seen him, before we even seen the character. Like, shit, who is this guy, right?
Yeah.
So that's what prestige would mean, right? They would hear of Ripa, and before they even see Ripa, if his prestige grows.
Yeah.
So he would already be affecting the difficulty level downward with his pure prestige, right?
Yeah.
So he could show up and just negotiate for
money.
for silver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Ripa.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lay siege to your little palisade here. You know, your body weight in silver, and we'll leave you alone. And it would matter because his prestige score.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those you already know what I'm capable of type
Yep,
things.
bingo, right. If not, you would be in a situation to try your size and your brute strength. That ain't going to make them open the gates, right?
Yeah.
It would have to be an actual fight, right, or siege, right? So that's the cool thing about it. Prestige becomes a weapon to impact the game without having to be combat related, right?
Yeah.
In this environment, I mean, prestige would be different in, say, the court of England, right, where you're talking to the king and you're trying to sway the king's opinion about the, a treaty with France, right? Your prestige would play differently there than, say, a sea peoples invading England.
Yeah.
Right. That's very, very cool. I mean, I can see the epic. I mean, even in small 5-session, 4-session campaigns where you're just playing 4 or 5 sessions, it can be very interesting to see how even low-level characters begin to impact just Dredgewater or the community at large, right? It can be very interesting.
Yeah, and like when you almost died in there, I mean, you could have. So I mean, and you could.
Well, yeah, if I didn't make the roll to fake my death and hide in the mud, they would have killed me. They would have speared me to death, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, I took a risk that if I rolled a critical fail, they would have killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I took a gamble that if I didn't convince them that I was dead, I was doomed. I mean, I couldn't really fight back at that point.
Well, like
right?
you said, that could happen with him, with Ripley.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On the battlefield, he could just roll.
But narratively, I didn't try to communicate with him. I didn't try to talk him into letting me go. I narrated that I'm just going to play dead in this fight. They don't have a lot of time to decide if I'm dead or not because they're in the middle of a skirmish. So they, if I fail that roll, I'm pretty much giving up. I'm dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the goal too. Yeah.
Essentially, whether it was going to waste time to make sure they finished the job or not,
And that's what I like about the freedom, the player agency to narrate, which cues my desired goal, but I can't guarantee it. I have to make a die roll. That's going to guarantee that's going to decide the outcome. But narratively, I was able to try what I wanted to try, but I was risking. It was risk reward. I was risking something for it.
Yeah, even the presenter, you got that same situation where the narrative informs how you interpret things and what you want to do, and it cues off of each other, everybody at the table, because that's one thing I like about it. When everybody's talking, they go, "Oh, he's doing it." Especially when you guys were separated in the battlefield, right?
Right.
And the clarity of mind
that should happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Softblade would have known if he would have wanted to look for y'all, he could have recognized y'all where you were. Where Ripper, he didn't. He was lucky he was killing the bad guy, just only one of his men.
Right, which is awesome. Based on his little background, right?
Yeah.
You were cued by his description that he's a completely different person on the battlefield than he is off the battlefield, right?
Yeah. So I took.
I mean, it means something. It meant something.
Yeah, exactly. And then you feed me that information, and even your description of what you're doing, it cues. You don't have to. You don't have to go to a thing. I'm going to do bull rush. I'm going to do whatever. You just say.
Well, or even the OSR, for instance. I'm somehow face down in an OSR in the mud. First of all, how does that happen in an OSR? We can define it, but ultimately it's hit, miss, take hit point damage. As a character, at any time, I can attempt to diplomacy and argue with the goblins or argue with whoever's, even the Knight's Men who are killing me. You can give up, so to speak. And then that's a reaction roll by your GM or the GM fiat. The GM lets you live and put you in prison, right?
Yeah, but
I don't know how many players would even think in that situation they could. Well, flee. I guess you can flee. It's a rule in D&D. You can attempt to flee, right?
But see, it makes it too automated, because what I want to say is, what is my situation, and then give me my ultimate pleasure is as far as playing is to figure out a way out of the situation I get into. I don't mind bad rolls,
Right. Well, and this has always been the problem with treating the OSR as a narratively rich. You almost can't narrate until after the die roll.
Yeah. Which you can see a lot of. I think I was processing
because in the rules I would have an opportunity to flee by just saying I want to flee this turn. So we come around the combat turn, round by round combat turn. We roll initiative. On my turn, I say I want to flee. I want to crawl away and hide. That's flee, and the GM would make the roll, or whatever the rules, that OSR's rules or that old D&D's rules are for fleeing, or GM fiat. You can't flee. You're on your face. You're in the mud.
Yeah.
And then I'm forced to say, well, I'll just roll to kill a goblin. And then you roll the die, and we're back to that. Oh, well, I'll just, I missed, and you're inevitably going to be stabbed in the back and killed on that. You know what I mean by the. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that mechanically, flee is an option in D&D, just activated by flee. And then you narrate the flee if you are free to flee. If the GM either lets you do it or you somehow succeed at a saving roll or something. I guess it depends on where we're queuing the die roll.
Whenever Softblade told me, he said, he was being similar to you, like attacked by two different ones, right? So he said he didn't say I'm got both of them in my eyesight or whatever. He said turning his full attention onto the thing. I'm like, you're going to really force yourself to do your full attention on this one dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm factoring that in, and I say roll, and this guy's facing isn't that well. Well, he gets them, not spectacularly with a critical success.
Right.
But all of a sudden, his rear
is exposed.
Is exposed totally, and how successful. I mean, if he would have rolled successful, like 12, he would have been able to, if he narrated, take old boy out and pivot around in one movement and be ready for the attack.
That's again. Right. Well, and that's just it. Because of our one die roll system, I already assumed when you told me we were outnumbered that we're already at a higher difficulty.
Yeah.
So what I narrate is I'm trying to deflect one while swinging another. I'm free as a player to basically engage both. You've told me I'm up against two, so I get to narrate how I engage both.
Yeah.
But I fully anticipated if I failed, I would suffer 2 wounds because I was facing 2 characters. If I succeeded, I would wound the one, but I would not suffer a wound at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And
that's not right. You could do it any way you wanted to, but in my head, I was thinking, shit, if I fail a roll, I'm going to take 2 wounds.
Yeah,
because I'm facing 2.
I was trying to process how to do that exactly.
And I knew that I was going to obviously be at a higher difficulty level, even against peasants, because I was outnumbered, right?
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter what I'm thinking. You know, there's not a right or wrong way, but that's what I was thinking. You know, technically, when you defined it, when you said you are outnumbered 2-1, I did the math in my head. Okay, that means I get one roll per turn. I got to narrate kind of how I would.
2 wounds per roll if you fail, yeah.
If I fail, right? If it's critical, it could be disastrous, right?
Yeah.
And I have to, in a way, narrate in such a way. How do I explain how I would suffer none, right? I was going to throw my shield in front of one and swing backward at the other, which would narratively make sense of the wound I would do on one guy, and it would explain why I don't suffer a wound by either one of them when I succeed. But that's me doing that work that another player in our game wouldn't probably recognize how they wouldn't maybe look at how our game system works and narrate it that way.
They
would narrate it that way, but they may not know why. They may not understand mechanically why they did.
That's the whole point of the game in large effect, is to be able to envision what's going on. That's why I said everybody has to be at the table and will be involved to see things transpire through narrative fiction.
Right. And this is
you know, like when you're
and this is why I made the argument that your narration counts. So that's the other thing. And, you know, the old argument in the OSR is premature imaginings. You know, people will narrate something and then they'll roll a miss. I'm going to kill the goblin. And they roll a 2. Oops, I guess I didn't kill the goblin. Right. In our game, you're free to narrate freely what it is you're doing. It counts. So when I narrate, I throw my shield up and I swing backward at this one. The one die roll will determine the success, but that actually happened. You play off of what I said.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you did with Mold. He turned his back on the one guy. That cued you. You knew exactly where that wound, that when he failed his roll, you knew exactly where that wound was coming from. The guy he turned his back on.
Yeah.
So his narration counts and it means something, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everything that Jory says in his fight, all of it, every bit of it counts. Every bit of it's true. Yeah. Even if he fails the roll, everything you said he did still counts.
Yeah.
Right? That's what makes it cool. When I crawl away in the mud trying to hide, you don't change the narration. You don't say, no, you don't crawl away in the mud. No,
I just say roll your luck to see, because you was blind. Where are you headed? You can't hear. And then let's
does somebody see me?
See how effective you are at distance.
Yeah. So our narration, what we're visualizing in our head, gets to become reality, and it counts.
And you're informed by the
GM
dice.
Gets to play off that, and all the other players get to play off that, right?
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people can't really.
I mean, I could have screamed out.
Natural when you're doing it.
I could have screamed out for help when in the mud, and that might have been a roll to see if I got the attention of the Ripa or got the attention
like you said when you cried out.
Right.
And I said nobody heard you.
Right.
When you're playing soft play.
It counts, right? Yeah. It's cool. Yeah. I mean, it just makes it very. The irony is there's plenty of mechanics to support everything we're doing. It's just we're rolling, and what are we rolling, and how are we modifying the difficulty? But there's a mechanism for all of our narration, and the justification of success or failure, regardless of how we narrated it, I think is what makes it. People will argue it's a narrative-driven game or story-driven game, but we actually confirm the direction the narration can go with every die roll, success or failure.
Yeah, and if you're already committed to what you said your action is, that's throwing your body in. Your momentum is going forward, and let's see if it actually works. If it don't, if it's to your detriment, this is what you're trying, but this is actually how you was interrupted in that.
Right. I raise my axe with both hands above my head. I roll a critical failure. He drives his dagger into my gut. Right.
Yeah, just like
because I can't defend myself.
This is where you've left me to work with. Now, if there's over in my corner, this is what's going to happen with what we got here.
Yeah, and then you cue and you rolled a critical failure. Well, while you were pulling your axe above your head, he cut your belly open. Right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you can see it happening back.
It's a conversation. It's a conversation. Right. Yeah. Your combat with Jory is just it's a conversation between Tugga and Ripa, or between you and Jory for Ripa and Tugga, right?
Well, I was still rolling that at the end, and I didn't pre-plan these guys like Blood Axe and
no,
none of this stuff. I'm making it up as I go along, and I said, well, they're too contested, and then I start saying like one of them's a little bit younger, wants to take over, sees the old one making mistakes.
Right.
You know what I mean? The same old crap. Cause I wouldn't have said that if it would have been like profitable. Y'all rolling to find out what's in that monastery, and you coming up empty-handed. Right. There ain't nothing here. It just validates the other dude. If if Blood Axe would have knocked Skull Splitter over the side, y'all would have went down to France. You know what I mean? It would have just taken a turn like life often does.
Right.
So, but he was put in his place, and then nothing turned up at the monastery. You lit that place on fire, and you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh yeah.
It just changes directions at a whim, and I don't know where it's going. So
well, and that's what makes it fun. As the presenter, you're naive.
Yeah, but
you get to experience playing like a player as a GM.
A lot of that y'all had to watch and be subordinate to, and listen to me go back and forth as characters.
Yeah, that was just the nature of how you started. It made it tough for you, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes
it worked out perfect.
I mean, but you know, it was a test. I knew when I was starting at it, I was like, because I said that you're going to go on a raid, and then I later thought, no, they wouldn't be in a position to lead no raid. So this had to make me factor in the subordinate thing. I'm like, well, that's life. How do I handle this? So I'm just doing it on the fly of how to handle it. But literally, I'm just rolling dice between it. But y'all having to watch that play out, which isn't nevertheless enthralling. But I mean, you could jump in, like you said, at any point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that as you offering any of us an opportunity to take a side, and just none of us did.
Yeah, but you know,
I really thought that's what you were doing, was giving us an opportunity to pick a side, and of course to give us an idea who these two guys were and what was going on, right? Yeah.
Well, see, at the time, like I said, I didn't know. I was like, well, on the Viking Road, they could do anything they want to do, and I'm sitting there. It didn't even occur to me until we were on the boat, and I'm going like, hell, they're not in a position to do that. I got these two guys. You know what I mean? What are they going to do?
But like I said, it worked out great. It's just, I think it was harder for you. For us, it was cool. I mean, I was fine with it, but I thought, ooh, this is hard for him. He's got to work himself out of this now.
So I'm trying to come up with this. I'm like, well, what do they do? How are they going to fight about it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then automatically made old Blood Axe.
Right. Yeah, because they're not going to say, let's have a vote, gentlemen.
He's like,
right? It's not a democracy.
You got a hothead. Okay, see who gets this one. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even like when Jorian was berserking out, I'm like, where's he going? Yeah. You know, and I rolled to find out where exactly. His luck, he rolled.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, geez.
But that's the beautiful thing. It's chaos. It's just combat is chaos, baby.
I knew when he hit, if he would get lucky enough to hit, or any of y'all, I was rolling that.
Yeah.
To hit the main guy, then everybody else is the morale's going to collapse, and then they're going to run for
exactly. Yeah. Well, in every one of those critical rolls, you can take them anywhere you want to affect the world. When he rolls a nat 12, dude, that can instantly cause morale, or it can cause instant change in the fight. It's so cool. So a nat 12 takes on. So it's not just you do double damage, or you know. I mean, it can change the whole world.
The flow of the story. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. Now he doesn't know that. I mean, he rolls a nat 12. He's already told you what he's doing. It's on you to decide how much that nat 12 affects the world, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, but it's this flood of input. Yeah. I think a lot of people that like to say time out, we're going to get a turn-based thing. But I love feeding off of that. I'm going like, this is what this character's doing inside of this larger story.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is what these other... I just had to contend with two characters that I was trying to run too, primarily in their struggle for dominance.
Right. But I mean, I was thinking about one of the reasons we played the way we played when we started thinking about developing Dark Age of Man into this style of game was the AIA, the Dice 6 system. We were playing a narrative-rich game, which meant that what you see in movies or television could literally be what we get at the table with other human beings. For instance, the scene in Northman where he reaches up and snatches the spear. I wrote that today, and the presenter says a spear comes out of the fog at you, Ragnvar, and I say I reach up, snatch the spear out. I'm free to narrate that. I roll a 12, I snatch the spear out of the air. I mean, this was an epic superhero act, so to speak. I roll a 1, you missed it, and the guy beside you is dead. It goes right through his skull, you know, something. Or it hits you in the shoulder. You missed it, hits you in the shoulder, you take 2 wounds. And now I'm kind of like, oops, should have did that. But there aren't many games where you could just narrate that, like the arrows coming into the boat, for instance, today, and that we could respond to that in a way that actually becomes a mechanical play.
I rolled archers at that time. Yeah. You know, and I had to factor that in what's going on.
But when you think, okay, you know, what would that look like in our game? When you look at that scene in Northman, what would that look like? Well, that's a player saying, I reach up and snatch that spear out. And everybody goes, holy shit. And he turns around and throws it back, you know, and you're like, that was badass. That's why we're watching a movie about this guy. You know, and there's prestige. That's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing where that would be an instant repute point.
Yeah.
Because everybody witnesses this act that changes this idea of you know, where they're there and how they're this, you know, it would be an instant repute point. His Beowulf, if you think about the sagas of Beowulf, all the tales about Beowulf, that's why we're reading about Beowulf, because he did all this shit that makes him famous, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody's sitting around the campfire singing a saga of the Viking Ripa, you know, killing Tugga, right? And then later they're telling the tale how Ripa grabbed a spear out of the air and threw it back at the, you know, that's what a Viking saga is. It's the tales of these amazing
in my mind, it was compounding. He went through two or three people. Yeah, it was the third person. He was stalking straight through them, with rolls, and then just nailed him to the door. And so that, you know, when he turned around, I'm like, how is this going to affect people? So I made you roll on that, and then I had to roll and find out how it was going to when it affected him when he started chanting his name. How's this going to affect freaking Blood Axe? You know, is this a challenge he's wanting to nip in the bud right now? To his newfound authority? Like everything was chaos. He wasn't leading necessarily, and then all of a sudden
they just the whole clan just anointed Ripa the winner of the battle. So he's challenged.
So if you'd run a bunch of, I had to just ask myself that and roll questions and say, well, he's challenged, he's coming at you, and if you'd have rolled a bunch of negatives, he could have put you down quick and said, I'm the guy here. Y'all remember it. So that was it, and it can flop. But I mean, we do need to look at you know, going above the 12, and that's what I did. It was what the test was for, to stay within it and say how effective is it, or do we need to, you know, scale up?
Oh, it works fine right now. My concern is we'll have to make sure we make it clear as people tier up through repute. I think that difficulty's got to be, you know.
Oh yeah, you can go.
That's the danger. Is we don't want to scale. We don't want to do too much video game where everything gets tough as you get tougher. Right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I go, wait a minute, I'm a badass now. I'm repute 8. I got a magic sword. I got Excalibur. Right? I mean, if you're playing that kind of game, you got a +2 sword that's blessed, +3 sword on body of 4, and no one's going to contest you.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But I mean, they're not impossible, like you're saying. That they're still cogent and should be applied to the game. I think. You know what I mean?
Right.
So where I had pulled it back to like 11 max just for this test run to see inside the bounds, but it needs to go over. I would think, especially with something as formidable as
And this, I wouldn't anticipate anything in this particular adventure would have required a nigh impossible, unless something like Northman, where he says, "I'm going to reach up and snatch the spear out of the air."
Yeah, or dragon comes down and you want to take it out, or some kind of.
Yeah.
I had sea serpent in there. You know what I mean? If you ought to roll that, it was on the far edge of it during the sea.
Hitting that or killing that. Would have been maybe nigh impossible. It would have been about escaping. We would have been trying to escape the sea monster, not kill the sea monster, right? I mean, but maybe not, right? Maybe not.
Because
maybe
it can turn on that when you do. If you miss, then you're dead.
Well, especially on the weighted seeds, right? I mean, one of the reasons we use a weighted seed chart is those extremes are the most dangerous events that could happen.
Y'all stay within that. In those bounds in the centralized area so much. It didn't go out on the fringes.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it works great. But I've always thought this style that we've been perfecting works great.
Yeah.
Now we got to make sure the game is teachable, and that, you know, people can they have to be able to pick up the book and read it and kind of get it, right? And you got to give players their agency, but you don't want to give it in such a way that players destroy the game, so to speak.
Well, that's a danger, because I think a lot of people, their concept of the game, they could say, "Oh, I'll go ahead and do this and that." No, you don't. You can try, and that's what's going to have to be pronounced and announced really loud. Look, you narrate what you want to do, and in fact, you're in motion doing it, and then let's see if it comes to what you got in your mind. Or it could be interrupted.
Right.
You know, but you don't just say, I go in there and I take out everybody in the place and I walk out smoking a cigarette. You know, there's a lot of place on fire.
Exactly.
Oh, really? You know, I know we zoom out and go in, but, you know, you don't do that. Just because you say it don't make it true.
That's right. Well, or just somebody saying, well, I'm going to do, as I said, like, so we talk about miracles in our game. You can conceivably tap some supernatural with your narration to create a miracle, right? I could have faced down in the mud, called upon Odin to bring me to my feet, and it still would have been, the difficulty would have still been crazy. It would have still been difficult. I was affected by my wounds, but
I love the fact of
it would have been in a way super. But if I had said I'm going to, I'm going to leap, I'm going to literally jump up and sprint away, it becomes kind of this bizarre anime thing, right? People if people aren't living in the aesthetic we choose to play in, right?
Yeah, that's why I say
that can happen. That can happen at any table, though.
I'm saying at arm's length. We're talking about it's minute areas of time to say what do, because it's a dance.
There's no way you can write a rule book that says don't ever do that. And if you get a guy at your table like that, you can't write that in the rules. It happens to everybody at some point in their career as a GM.
Yeah,
you get that guy at the table that doesn't understand this is a Western. We're playing a Wild West game. There is no magic here.
Well, you can scale out, or even time wise, or scale in. So when it depends on who you're dancing with. If you're in a one-on-one with a swordsman, don't say that you've hit him 15 times and did this and that. No, you go and you're this dance. So what is your movement? But if you want to scale back, and like when you're having a massive attack on a city, and you want to determine what you got the mass combat rules, that's a little different. I played with that a little bit with what was going on, because I knew that there was so many men out there. So I was ticking away the men as y'all was dropping them.
Well, see, here's the thing we have to remember about gaming, and this isn't true in Pathfinder or games that use tabletop miniatures. That's a combat game. Everything is laid out on a map. It's right in front of you. Everybody sees it. It's tactical. It's a chess match. You're going to be moving. You're going to be using your thumbs. You're going to be measuring. You're going to be in a game that's theater of the mind. This is like years I played D&D, old D&D theater of the mind. All that matters is what I tell the players. There's 6 goblins. 2 of them are on Joe. 3 of them have got Bill pinned in the corner, whatever. That's all they have to worry about, right? So even in mass combat in, say, D&D, if we're not doing some tabletop thing, you can kind of, all that matters is what's affecting the players. The rest of the world's happening outside of their purview, right? The players look up after 10 rounds of combat with their initial battle, and they've lost or they've won, right? So the mass combat's, for me, in our game, is easy, super easy, because all that matters is what the players ultimately are rolling and doing, right?
It's super easy to me too. I mean, when y'all are each in your own little isolated areas of that combat field going at it,
right?
I felt this oppressive thing. I was ticking away like a clock in the back of your mind. You said, "Oh, he's dropped 16 people. Oh, Jason just got dropped. Those 2 were still they're redirected somewhere else." And then you see this. You can feel the ebb and the flow of combat. And you say, well, like, when are these people going to break? And I knew that it was according to luck if he was going to hit the leader.
Right.
And once that crumbles,
and all that matters,
snake.
I mean, you could have decided the whole combat was a difficulty 8. Right?
Yeah.
And you could have just decided that there's going to have to be so many successful rolls by the PCs, and that will end battle. I don't know how it'll end, because it's we're all narrating.
Exactly.
Right?
You got
so every time that Jory rolled a big score, he can literally narrate how he is carving through guys, because their hit points ain't relevant. What's relevant is the combat hit points.
Exactly.
It's a mass hit point bubble, and it's a mass difficulty, right? Now that difficulty would go up and down based on whether Jory writes himself into his own corner, right? Because he could have narrated himself like I did. I narrated myself into in crawling away in the mud. I made it very easy for you to kill me if I fell. Right.
Well, you can get down narratively in a close one-on-one situation, or you can pull it back and see the field of what's going on. Like if you wanted to say, okay, you rolled good, did it? You took out a section of I'm going through, and then Jory is doing this.
I mean, you could literally say, wow, critical. When Jory rolls a critical 12, you could say that's so epic. It's going to change the ebb of this battle, and then narrate how the battle swings, right? Jory could literally have affected the whole battle.
Pivot point to where,
which he did, ultimately did. Yeah, he ultimately did.
Yeah, just in a more detailed, isolated, thing. But you slow something down. You can do that. You have that ability to. It's malleable. You can go. This is important for the guys here, in the story and what's going on. And somewhere around this is interesting to me. There is Blood Axe. I'm gonna see if Blood Axe takes out the leader or if who does.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And then
Right.
Jory ended up doing it based on a role that I was making on the side. Who's
Sure.
hitting who? And I
Sure.
said, okay, well that's where I focused in, and we do that on the plot. But if you want to pull
Right.
back and say we need to brush over this a little bit, or if even on a travel or longer
Right.
travel,
Right.
you could do it.
And that's why we don't have to write anything. We have a world. We have our random seeds. As long as everybody understands the context of the world, we're Vikings on a raid, and we're headed to England or to some other fictional island or whatever. We understand the aesthetic that we're creating. The story can become about a monastery that we can't get into.
Yeah.
Right. That's we don't know what the story is going to be, but it can evolve into what do you call it? It comes out of play, right? Play to find out. It's
organic.
Emerging narrative, emerging story, and you just don't know what this. You have no idea what this session is going to be about.
And I didn't.
You know what? You know what you're starting. Vikings on their first raid, but you have no clue where it's going to go.
No, I didn't, man. I was clueless.
And that's the goal of Naive Narrator. So we get to enjoy watching it unfold as much as the players do.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. I literally just scrappled a bunch of stuff down, and I sat there and I let it inform me what is going on with these guys,
Right.
and then just rolled and just say,
Right.
crap.
Yeah, I mean, we start the game as 3 repute level baby Vikings, and it ends with a new ship leader. It ends with a new chieftain, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and one guy who's barely alive, and the other one who's just figured out that he kind of likes this bloodlust thing. At least my take on his character did.
But see, you get
Justin may come back and go,
character.
nah, he's just a fishmonger, man. He wouldn't.
No, but it makes sense with it. You can see it. You can see it happening with.
Yeah, once he
characters.
realized he got a flavor for it.
Oh yeah. This is.
It's like girl crazy. Yeah, you're not real. Girls are cool and
Like
all.
Jory
and
said,
yeah,
what have I been missing?
Then right. And then you fall in love, or you have that first experience, and suddenly you become girl crazy, right? When you're 13, suddenly you don't kill her. Suddenly you notice girls, right? I don't care about combat. Suddenly he cares about combat.
Yeah.
Fish, what the crap? But no, it was interesting, and maybe dealing with some new stuff. Obviously, there's some floundering or whatnot, but no pun to the fish boy. But it is what it is. I think it's really good if we can just tie down some of the some of the ranges,
Right.
bring it up to 17 or whatever, and have more like that. But like I said, it got to be where I got myself in a situation where I was narrating to other guys, and y'all were obliging enough to sit there and watch it unfold, being subordinate to them.
Yeah.
And that was new to me, having to even factor that in and say, where were y'all in this?
Well,
thing?
that's fine. If you're playing a module, that kind of thing happens. You're the king,
Yeah.
and you're going to give people orders, right? You're going to go over to this land. You're going to do this thing, and the player's like,
but I mean,
okay.
playing as somebody in the
Or I
party
can tell the
itself.
king go take a hike. I can get on my horse and go right and tell let the king chase me for the rest of his life, kind of thing. But you're in a situation with Naive Narrator that it's really tough with Naive Narrator.
Well, when you're
That's
playing
part of
with
why we're
people
playtesting this, right? That's
Yeah.
that would be one of the things that would go in our GM section. Be very careful with Naive Narrator to put yourself in a position in which you're directing
Yeah.
players.
Yeah. Well, you become one of the players at that point, at the party. And it was tangentially related in the fact that y'all were just part of a party.
Yeah.
But that party was moving on, en masse in certain directions, so you're swept up in what they were doing and part of it, but still it didn't give you total control over who you were. But
Yeah, the only way I guess you could have done that would have been an in media res start, where you just start navigating how we hit the beach, and we're all running toward the village as they batten down the hatches, and the game starts with us literally all screaming and running into a raid. Then we don't even know who our leader is. It's irrelevant, right? We find out later, right? Or you could have started it that there's 2 ships and our leader's is on one ship, and Jory is happens to be in charge of this little boat, right? Or I do, or us 3 are kind of been told by Tugga, you guys take care of that ship. I'm leading this ship. And then so Tugga might yell at us, we're going to that shore, and we all go there. But I mean, that would have been the only way to really, in a way, give us our head right out of the gate, right?
Yeah, and that needed to be. You know what I mean? Whether or not I, like I said, sabotage myself with the thought of it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really work that way economically to get the players invested, even though there's an aspect of that's the way life is sometimes. Sometimes you get caught up
exactly,
in it. But it needs to go. That's a word of caution. So
well, I don't know. It worked fine. I just at the time thinking, okay, if I was a different character, I would get involved in this argument and try to sway what I want.
Do you have that Humana card?
Oh.
Ray's asking for it.
Yeah. It's right there.
You realize it's like 8:30?
No, I'll wrap it up right now. She let me know it's
yeah, we're getting getting late.
It's 8:30.
Yeah.
I gotta get up.
Yeah, we gotta stop. But that was awesome. Fantastic. Had a great time, and I thought the playtest went great.
Yeah, there was a lot to learn and a lot we needed to navigate into and test. You know, just even so to say, well, this might be a danger, or this might be something that we need to be aware of.
And I think making characters is pretty easy, right? I don't think that's really difficult.
Yeah. So that's about
good deal. All right.
Okay, guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. It was great fun.
All right.
If we get back to these characters, Jory, you're going to be running the show, man.
Pretty much. What else is new? No.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a great 4th of July.
Yeah, you do the same.
Yeah,
Jason.
you too.
Good playing
all right.
with you, bud.
All right, brother.